And
We're
we
live.
are live from New York. It's PM in the PM. No, this is PM in the PM, but we're not live from New York.
I'm in Texas.
Mav's in warm Texas. I'm in
Cold again
frozen,
today.
snow-ridden Minnesota. Yeah, okay, your cold is different. We've already had this discussion. So no, we are not live from New York, but we are live on YouTube this day, February 23rd, for your second dose of PM in the PM. That's right. If you missed it on Tuesday, we did have a PM in the PM extra special show due to the ABK stuff. And I know that's the title tonight. It's still a big story this week, so we'll probably still touch back on it again. But obviously, we got a lot of other stuff that's happening. That happened today. In fact, we had the State of Play, which is kind of what the title was a play off of, anyways. State of ABK. So we had the State of Play today, which was interesting. And then we had a leak from an investor call of all places. So we're going to talk about that because it's a big one. That's for damn sure. But we're definitely going to have some fun tonight. Chat, you guys are all looking amazing. Thank you for dropping on in here again with myself and my co-host with the most, the man who says it's cold in Texas, the man who once again pushed us back tonight because he's so busy all the time. That is none other than Mav, aka Fun Speculation King of this kingdom. What is going on, sir? Since I talked to you Tuesday, it feels like we just did this.
Yeah,
what's
I'm having deja vu right now.
I know, right? What's going on, brother? How you been?
Well,
man?
like I had potentially foresaw, there was a lot of news that dropped between then and today now in time for this show. So we still got lots to talk about, Pong Soul, and I'm glad that we got a lot because there's maybe even have differing opinions on some things.
Yeah, we do.
So that's gonna be interesting as well. But man, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you're able to be here, and thanks for letting me push it back by an hour today. Other than the usual pushback of 30 minutes, today we pushed back an hour. Appreciate you for that.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah, this has been an interesting day. Caught the State of Play earlier, and we'll talk about that. We'll touch on the ABK stuff, like you said. Other news that happened. You know, we're gonna try and run the gamut here. There's a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, there is.
Absolutely, there's a lot. So, but how have you been, Pong, since Tuesday?
Busy, snowed in. We didn't get as much snow as we were supposed to. They cut back the forecast. It turned out not to be quite as bad, historic as they were claiming it was going to be. All things considered, that's good. But I was still at home today, and I had an extra show today myself, which is going to be, that's why State of Play talk will be fun, because I didn't get to see your reactions at all, which I normally would have been a part of your show. But I was on World of Gaming with the one and only Boxenberger, and of course Wandering Dutch as well. So I did that earlier this afternoon. That was fun, and we were still live when the State of Play came on, and so me and Dutch were kind of watching in the background as we were going. Dutch was really watching. I kind of had it off to the side, so I saw some things from the State of Play, and then went back and rewatched it later while I was working. So I got a good chance to watch it back. So yeah, we're gonna have some interesting conversation about that as well. But yeah, no, it's been good, man. Been rocking and rolling on Atomic Heart. I am seeing some concerning tweets about Atomic Heart.
The Ukrainian government.
No, not that. I don't care about the clown show. That clown show can all fly a kite. No, I'm actually talking about the game itself. Colt today posted a video, game-breaking bug. Stuck in a place that the elevator doesn't work. He actually fell through the map. He's tried reloading it 10 different times. Same thing. So, and I saw a couple other tweets as well today from others saying that they've come across game-breaking bugs. And you know the drill, Math. As great as a game can be, you don't respect my time, you're gonna get deleted off the hard drive. Yeah. So I'm hoping that I don't come
How
across
far
that.
are they in the game when they're coming
Pretty
across
far.
that?
Colt, I think Colt is got to be probably 7 to 10 hours in at least. So
I'm
pretty fun.
liking the game so far, like
love the
a
game.
lot. It's really good.
Yes.
I went into it with open mind. I've been on record many times saying that really wasn't super excited for this game. But it was one that I was gonna try for sure because it's in Game Pass, and it was one of those I kind of had my flags up because new studio and
Yep.
they're trying to go really big and all this stuff. And I played it on stream. And I feel weird. I was actually able to stream yesterday, and I was able to do 2 streams yesterday. It was amazing. Like, what's happening here?
And 3-bit went live yesterday too. My God,
we're all being freed from our from having to work like 100,000 hours a week right now or something. I don't know, but I was really impressed, man. It's super smooth experience so far. I mean, I am playing on a VRR monitor, so I don't know if that has helped. But a super smooth experience. I like the gameplay. I was liking where the story was kind of going a little bit. It was interesting. I don't understand where that 4 out of 10 came from that was sitting there on meta. Like, it's just like, that's like a broken game type situation. Now, if it messes up our saves and stuff like that, we're going to have a discussion of bugs. I mean, that still even wouldn't be 4. That's just a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I really liked it. And it's going to be interesting to see how that game does long term. I don't think people outside of Xbox are talking about it too much or playing it. A lot of people
dismissed it.
Yeah,
so,
and
that's what.
So we'll see.
That's what review scores still do. And we talk about it all the time that I like all these gatekeepers out here that try to gatekeep gaming from different reasons as to why you're not a real gamer. I will say, if you let I could sit here and gatekeep and say, if you let other people tell you what's a good game and what's not a good game, you're not a real gamer. You should be trying this stuff if you have access to it. I'm not saying go spend $70 and waste your money, but I think a lot of people dismiss the game out the gate because the reviews were so mixed, and I understand some of it. Like you said, the 4 out of 10s, those super low scores, those I don't get, but I do get where people could get frustrated with this game. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But for their first, basically their first game, like real, big game, Onefish did a hell of a job. This studio is only between 50 and 80 people total. That's with admin and everything. So you're talking about a smaller team, spent a long time on this game. It shows the graphics. You can put them up there in some areas, some scenes with any of the big AAAs out there. Really impressive stuff. And it's got, again, they proudly wear their influences like BioShock, like Fallout, like Prey on their sleeve. They definitely took those influences and ran with them. And they're trying to do a lot of things in this game. And for the most part, everything pulls off very well. The more powers I get, the more upgrades I get, the better it plays, the better it feels, which is exactly what should happen. You feel like you're getting stronger, and some really, really interesting mechanics involved that you can use. The puzzles are interesting. I know Colt was getting extremely frustrated with the pick locks. I had 0 problems with them. So I don't, again, I understand why some might get frustrated. I didn't have any problems with them.
I didn't have any problem with that either yet so far. My favorite thing about this game so far that I was oohing and ahhing over was it's such a weird thing.
What?
The pause menu is amazing in Atomic Heart, because guess what? You just hit the button, it just pops up the options like instantaneously. And it's like just simple, fluid, and crazy fast. I know it's like not within the game, right? This is like an outside gameplay thing. But can every developer out there look at what Munfish did with their menu system in this game and just copy it? Because there's no like go to this whole big other thing and like go to the menus and like it's all slow and junky and stuff. This was just like there. It was crazy fast, simplistic. Love it. Xbox should implement that for their whole UI. Hire them to do your UI. It was amazing. I was like, this is the best menu experience I've ever had in a video game.
If we're talking about the pause, if we're talking about the pause, the other menu systems they have,
pause menu, the pause menu,
the pause menus.
Pause
the
menu.
other menus are a little cool.
And very excellent pause menu. Can we give it 10 out of 10 for the pause menu and then review the rest of the game separately?
We'll make that a new category of games. Pause menu ratings.
Pause menu ratings. Besides that, though, like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm liking it still.
yeah,
I have
good,
yet
good.
to run into any issues. I'm
Yeah,
still early on. I think I streamed it for like 2 or 3 hours. I can't remember how long. Super long, slow intro.
yeah,
Beautiful game,
yeah,
and I'm impressed so far. Who knows where it's gonna go? Got to
yeah,
finish it before I can obviously give a full
yeah.
opinion on it. But liking what I'm seeing. Um, and yeah, I Venom
So,
came out today on Midnight Sun, so I'm itching to play that.
yeah,
There's a lot of stuff to play right now, man. It's just
there's a lot of stuff
crazy,
to play.
and more stuff shown today at the State of
We still
Play.
got to do some co-op X Defense or
X
X
Morph,
Defense Morph.
X Morph.
X Morph.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that game. It was for the whole complete edition, or whatever, is
Yeah.
on sale for $6.99 or $5.99. I can't remember. It's crazy
5.99.
cheap,
$5.99. $6.
and it's like this tower defense hybrid with
Shooter.
space, like
Yeah.
bullet hell type game as well.
Yeah.
Like a
It's freaking
it's
amazing.
like a
It's really
shmup
good.
mixed with tower defense. That's what it
Yep.
is, right?
It's really good.
Yeah, it is really good. I was like, man, this is surprisingly good. Sometimes those games are pretty crazy.
I know. I know. It is crazy that I came across that one on sale and just tried it out because it looked cool. And I looked at the Steam ratings, and the Steam ratings were high for that game.
Yeah,
So I knew people on PC loved it, so I had to try it out. But yeah, there is a lot to play right now. And like you said, I gotta get back to Midnight Suns. I mean, I really
yeah.
do. I just basically got Wolverine introduced.
I'm
So
still only a couple hours
80
into
hours
Hogwarts
in.
Legacy too, man.
Yeah,
You know, like
you are way behind. On
I'm
Hogwarts Legacy.
super behind, but like it's not my first. Even though like that game's like the most popular game in the world right
Yeah,
now, it's
yeah,
still not my number one choice to get back to currently.
sure, sure.
Because even though it's a great game, there's other games that I want to get further in or finish first
Mm-hmm.
before I put more time
I
into
get it.
Hogwarts.
That's what the fun part is, man. Because there's so much to play right now.
Yeah.
So you got problems.
And I got FOMO, so when something new hits, I got to try it and play it for a little
of
bit.
of course.
You know, so that always takes time away from finishing games. Midnight Suns is first on my priority list, but I haven't played it in like 2 weeks. Crazy.
Yeah, I gotta get back to Midnight Suns. Every time I pop that in, I'm just
It's so good.
engrossed. It is.
And
It is. It's so.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about it also a lot because also like to dub or not to 2K,
Yeah.
it didn't perform up to their
Nope.
expectations yet. They said
Nope.
they have it has long legs like other XCOM or
Yeah.
Fire Axis games have had like XCOM, you know. But like that's a game that has been a little bit underappreciated for the quality of game that it is actually because of maybe some of the concerns up beforehand that we had originally,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But then after going and playing it, it's like, man, this is really good.
And it's been going on sale a lot.
A lot, like
The
40%
Ultimate
off.
Edition. Yeah, the Ultimate Edition was like $60 for everything. And I gotta say that it's worth it. Again, anybody on the fence with Midnight Suns, please listen to me, listen to Mav, go listen to Cog talk about it. Cog's been pushing this heavy too. This is one of Cog's favorite games. And this might be, the last true for Axis game. I mean, we're gonna get more. They already confirmed they're working on Civ, which is great. But with Steve Martin leaving the studio now, he was one of the originals. He's one of the guys that was one of the key people, if not the key person that made XCOM what XCOM is. And now he's left the studio, and we know how that goes. It's sometimes hard to replace those key players when they do walk away from a studio, especially in a niche genre like an XCOM, like a Midnight Suns. That expertise that he has from decades of working on those types of games isn't replaced overnight, no matter how well you've trained people. There's just an eye for things that you see in those games that you won't have with him not being around anymore. So that was a big loss for Firaxis. I'm waiting to hear what Steve Martin is going to do. Be curious if he starts his own studio or not. But I will definitely wait to see what he's going to do. But I'm looking forward to Firaxis games. Firaxis has yet to let me down yet again. Midnight Suns came through, even with the card thing. So please go try that game out if you're on the fence. I know there's a billion games to try, but honestly, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Midnight Suns is great. It's really fantastic.
One of the best things today about Pong is like there's so much news going on. We're all like in our DMs constantly talking back and forth and getting each other's opinions on stuff. And I love when there's like that kind of gaming stuff out there where we're all able to talk and have differing opinions on stuff. And like some of the games today kind of definitely hit that way. So
yeah, for
it's
sure.
going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. 100%. Mav, are we sponsored this evening? Do you want
Yeah,
to
hey, we got the good old Manscaped sponsor. Shout out to manscaped.com.
Manscaped? Let's
Oh
go.
yeah,
Let's go.
manscaped.com. They appreciate our sponsor, Manscaped. Breaking news, everybody. Manscaped is now selling beard products. That's right. They've gone from waist to face to help you replace that bulky razor with their brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Manscaped helped you get the golden rod of a Greek god, and now they've created the best tools for you to turn heads with a clean, perfectly groomed, and conditioned beard. Finally, tame your mane by going to manscaped.com and using our code FUNSPECULATION for 20% off plus free shipping. I just gave a little bit of a smooth up here before we went live.
Nice.
On the beard, because my mustache is getting a little long, overgrown my lips.
Yeah, I showed my box is now empty because I'm using it. Right?
Yeah.
So my box is now empty, and it is a great product. So I didn't use it today, as you can tell. I'm a little bit fuller today, but it will be happening probably tomorrow, actually. And it's a freaking fantastic product. Again, this is probably my favorite out of all theirs by far.
Yeah.
This one is all their stuff is super high quality. But this beard hedger is awesome. Like I said, the ease of use with the dial on it, you can't. It's just
The dial's awesome.
if anybody out there has used any type of clippers, we're always changing out the comb size and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure out which is the best one for whatever length. You already know how annoying that is on your head. But on your beard, it's always tough to figure that out. But this thing right here just makes it so easy. So this is a great product. So I definitely highly recommend it that you go get it and use that code FUNSPECULATION, which helps the channel and helps you save some money over at manscaped.com. They are fantastic.
20% is quite a bit, right? So 20% off plus you save on the shipping with free shipping with promo code FUNSPECULATION at manscaped.com. All right. 100%. We got 88 people here hanging out ready for us to talk about this stuff, man. What's up, everybody?
Let's go, everybody. Who do we got out here? Let's shout out some people. We didn't do a shout out on Tuesday because we just got down to business with our extra show. So let's give some shout outs tonight. Siki, what is going on? Great to have you in here. Ed Enzo, what is happening? Poisoned Maniac, always hanging around. Great to see you, my friend. Talos Ray, of course, is in here. Nix is in the house. One of the OGs. Nix, what's going on? Oh, the one, the only, the great K Asante is in here. And K Asante, special shout out to you, brother, for putting some snakes in their place today. You know what I'm talking about. So shout out to you, brother. You did your job well today, and it's definitely overdue. And who else? We got It's Timmy. It's Timmy's in the house. Saint Reborn 311. What is going on? I don't know if that's Saint or you go by ST Reborn or whatever, but I'm going with Saint or Street Reborn, maybe. Street. We can go with Street too. Either way, great to see you in here. Of course, brother from another Steel Rain the T is a 7 is in the house. What's going on, brother? Great to have you in here. Lonzo86 is up in the chat. Mitchie dies a lot. What's going on? Great to have you in here, my friend. Spiton13, what is happening? Tony Grasso's in the house. God Emperor SofaKing, great to have you show up in here. What Just Happened is in here as well. Checking us out. The Beer Baron. Good thing to be a baron of right there. The Beer Baron is in here. Hope you brought some kegs for us. Jason Max, what's going on? Lee May Prime is in the house. What's going on, Lee May Prime? Great to have you join us. No More is in here as well, and that's a K-N-O-W, not an N-O. K-N-O-W. No Mo is in the house. What's going on, No Mo? Who else we got in here? We got, of course, brother Psychonauts dropping on in here. Probably on Planet 19 by now. Going to space trip. What's going on? Psycho. We got Dova 360 in here, stopping by to say hi. Masshole 1977, of course, dropping on in here. We got the beautiful and lovely Miss Caitlin. Again, the person who does all of our thumbnails, who does all the beautiful graphics, everything behind the scenes, and she makes Mav incredible food. Great to have you in here, Caitlin, as well as always. And of course, Ray Oid is in the house, and Isaac Gentry is here as well. That's as far as my chat goes back. If I missed anybody, Dr. Dinglenut, I see you dropping in here. Hellhammer 13, Davino is in here as well. Mr. Kima, General Spartan 27, Razor NZ, all the way from New Zealand, 1970, Chrome Pony is in the house as well. I see y'all. Y'all just drop in here as soon as I start calling out names. Great to have every single one of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on PM in the PM. Let's get down to business here, Mav. We got some topics to get into. Where should we start, Mav? Where should we start? What should we start with here? Let's go with, you know what? Let me do this. Let's talk a little bit about journalism. Real quick here. Let's get this out of the way. I'm freaking annoyed. I'm annoyed as hell with journalists. You guys all know this. If you guys watch me on this show or any other show, especially Living Split Screen, where Steele and I go on epic rants on Saturdays a lot. Journalism has been in a downward spiral, and I'm talking about mainstream journalism for a long time in all different avenues, not just gaming, but gaming's been affected by the same type of nonsense that all of other journalism has been for a long time now, and they're in their death spiral. But this week, Mav, journalists took their time to write articles about Activision favorite Lulu Chen putting out a meme for Sony, of course, forgetting how much they enjoyed, PlayStation when they did This Is How You Trade Games, acting like they've never seen any corp on corp violence before, which we should all be cheering on, by the way. There should be nobody up in arms about corporate on corporate violence. You can talk about professionalism, you can talk about all this nonsense out here, but when it comes to corp on corp violence, we need more of that in our lives.
That's a form of competition, right?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, it happens. And you know what? If it's corporate against the little guy, yeah, that's when you speak up and say, what are you doing? But corp on corp, nah, you want that nonsense. But they had time to write articles about that. They had time to once again, Matt, attack the Xbox community for, heaven forbid, liking her tweet, Matt.
Oh, no. What?
For reacting positively to her funny meme.
Oh my God! What did we do?
My God. And then doubling down, tripling down by coming out and once again proclaiming, you know what? Xbox community, most toxic, worst people in the neighborhood ever. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, got other journalists covering this big ABK presser. Like, again, this is fascinating to me and Matt. We've been talking about this now for over a year. This is a big deal. You don't get this kind of inside scoop on business deals, right? It's only because of who's involved in this that this is making the rounds, that this has become the spectacle it has. And yes, there's been circus to this. There's been ridiculousness from everywhere. The regulators, Sony, Xbox, the press, everybody's had their moments of clownish behavior during this entire process, but that's what makes it interesting. It's not boring. We don't have a bunch of attorneys sitting around reading legal jargon to us like that's supposed to be exciting. We actually have real people out here interacting with the press, with the community. This is freaking awesome. We got to peek behind the curtain. But we got reporters out here. Somebody who I've actually defended, Christopher Dring from GameIndustry.biz. I defended him. Yeah. But he writes an article that he has to compare the presser that Brad Smith gave, which was extremely professional. Yeah. He has to bring up the ghost of Trump to make his point. You are a professional. Yeah. You are a professional journalist and writer, and you couldn't find any other analogy out there. Like, nobody has ever given a presser before. Nobody has stood up on a stage and explained their position in a case or a business dealing before in front of an audience. Nobody's ever done that. Are all E3s Trumpian like them because, the spectacle, this is just a circus.
What about when Sony said, like, this is how you share games? Like, right? You remember that?
That's what I said when they were writing the articles about how awful it was that Lulu dare put out a meme on Twitter about the whole situation. But they forget that was all fun and games, right? That's Sony. Yeah, that was cute.
Hey, that was fun. Cute. That was a good move, Sony.
That was classic. Again, it was. Don't get me wrong. I was laughing. I thought it was freaking awesome. Again, corporate on corporate violence. I don't care who it is. I'm gonna be back here applauding. Hell yeah, let's go.
When one
This is
of
great.
these companies calls out the other one for their shenanigans,
Yeah.
it's usually a good thing.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So we had the journalism out here doing all of this nonsense. And again, we've brought this up previously, Mav. We got corporation, I should say journalistic entities out here like Games Rant, who can write articles about how Starfield needs to justify his existence because it's just going to get lost amongst all the other games like No Man's Sky. This is the kind of Shakespearean writing we get from these journalists nowadays. This is just classic stuff. They got all the time in the world to waste our time and their time writing these clickbait, nonsensical articles. But then when real stories come about, even if they're smaller, even if they're not like the biggest stories in the world, they just ignore it. And of course, we're going to get into it here because we're going to talk about the state of play. But I'm sure a lot of you saw my tweet on Twitter. A lot of you put it out there. Baldur's Gate 3 was announced today. Baldur's Gate 3 certainly isn't a Starfield, but Baldur's Gate 3 certainly isn't an indie game from a small studio that's never made a game before. Baldur's Gate has been a huge franchise on PC especially. We got ports on the console back in the day, but it's a classic CRPG. So, it didn't hit as well, but it's been giant over on PC. Baldur's Gate 3 is the return to a beloved D&D style franchise that a lot of people are hyping on PC. This has been big news over on the PC side of things. So at the State of Play today, we get the announcement that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be coming to console.
Oh, I was so excited when I got that news.
Right. August 31st, same date as the PC release because it's been in preview this entire time on Steam. They've been working on this game for years. So we finally get the console announcement. And of course, it's at the State of Play, so it's PlayStation 5. First thing, everybody here who's watched State of Plays or Sony showcases knows for a fact they never miss an opportunity to proclaim exclusivity, whether it's timed exclusivity, whether it's console launch first on PlayStation. They use all these different tags. They just did it with Knights of the Old Republic. Everybody remembers that. So in today's State of Play, the funny thing, Mav, is none of the games shown today had any exclusivity tags.
Yeah.
Obviously, the VR stuff, we know that's exclusive, obviously.
Yeah.
But on the other games, there was none of that, right?
Yeah.
So that should be a ringing of the bell for journalists. Again, you guys should recognize this because you guys cover PlayStation for a living in this industry. That should ring a bell like, hey, this is a little bit different what's going on. But then afterwards, Baldur's Gate 3 is only confirmed in a weird kind of way by saying that it's going to come day and date to PC and PlayStation 5 and Mac. And of course, they leave out Xbox and make no mention of any other platforms. And of course, on their website, underneath the customer support, says the same thing. When the question is asked, what platforms will I be able to play this on? It says PlayStation 5, PC, and Mac. But why, as a journalist, would you not send out the bat signal? You have first-class tickets to the PR departments of both Sony and Laird Games. Is that what it is? I can't remember.
It's Larian
Games. Thank you, Larian.
Larian Studios.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
Larian. You have first-class tickets to their PR departments. You've asked these questions when other games have come out and haven't mentioned PlayStation. Let's just go back a few months when Wo Long had a weird 3-day exclusivity deal where they couldn't talk about PlayStation. How many articles do we get from all you journalists who, hey, calm down, don't worry, we found out. There's this weird 3-day clause where they can't talk about the PlayStation. We don't understand it. It's a weird contract thing, but don't worry, it's going to be announced for PlayStation soon enough. You guys you all went out there and wrote articles. And we don't even have to go back to the whole Tomb Raider fiasco when Xbox tried to get timed exclusivity for Tomb Raider and you forced Crystal Dynamics to sit up there and answer the question of when it was coming to PlayStation, even though they were contractually obligated to not tell you. Mm-hmm. You held them on stage until they did. We don't even have to go back that far. This happens all the time with even smaller games when PlayStation isn't announced as a platform, if it's unclear about its exclusivity, you go write articles. And let's not even talk about Starfield after being told that Starfield was going to be exclusive. How many months, Matt? 6 months?
We still
7
hear it
months?
today.
Today.
I think 3-Bit got in an argument with a YouTuber actually about that, because there's still a lot of people feel like that's coming to PlayStation. They've been very, very clear about this, right?
Right.
And can things change in the future? Like, Xbox is always evolving and changing, but there's no reason to ask that question now because it's already been made clear, right? And the thing is, when things aren't clear is when you ask the questions, and they always do, like you said, on PlayStation's side, when they're missing out on something.
Yep.
But when Xbox misses out on something, it's almost like it's an expectation for them.
Yep, it's assumed. That's why I asked my tweet. Is it just assumed because it's PlayStation? So the question doesn't need to be asked, even though it's very unclear, even though this is different from how they normally do things.
Makes sense. It's coming only to PlayStation. That's kind of how they feel, right? Oh, another big get for PlayStation, right?
Right. I just, again, we had these mainstream journalists for months. I'm not even talking about the smaller people. I'm not talking about YouTubers who are still doing. Mainstream journalists for months wrote articles hypothesizing how Starfield could come to PlayStation, right? Why it would make sense. We had articles even about Elder Scrolls 6, which isn't even in production yet, about that and whether or not that was going to come to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yet here we have, and again, I'm not saying Baldur's Gate 3 is anywhere near Starfield or Elder Scrolls or any of that. But is it worthy of one article? Is it worthy of a journalist doing their job, reaching out to these PR departments? Every article I read tonight, Matt, and I go read the articles before I go on one of these rants because I make sure that I'm not being wrong here. None of them had the obligatory, we've reached out to Sony and we've reached out to Laird Games for confirmation.
Larian Studios.
None of them had that, huh?
Larian Studios.
Larian, God dang it. I got Laird in my head. I think it's Baird and Larian together. I don't know why, but anyways, none of the articles had that in there, suggesting that they had reached out for comment. So why is that?
The only one person I saw was Jez Gordon from Windows Central.
Of course, because he's Windows Central.
Right.
And he does that shit, right?
Yeah. And he actually does more journalistic work when he doesn't consider himself a journalist.
Right. And this shit just frustrates me to no end, Mav. I don't know if you got anything else to add, Mav. That was my little rant.
No, I agree with you, man. I saw your tweet and I was like, I see what you did there. Like when you're saying, isn't this worthy of something? You know, because yeah, I mean, even recently there was Christopher Dring again from GameIndustry.biz had made some comments about that Xbox buying game studios, taking away games from other platforms is like not great. And then I think Colt had said something like, like if you want to play those games, get an Xbox, because that's what always has been said on the opposite side, right? Like if you want to play those games, get a PlayStation. Even Insomniac had said that about Spider-Man and such, right? So it's like, and he's like, yeah, well, he's like, well, I'm not a big fan of it in general, but so the backlash to him then was, why only talk about it then when it comes to Xbox, right? And that's the point here. Whenever there's a question or whenever it's regarding Xbox potentially getting exclusive or potentially a question in the air, is a game going to be exclusive? Is a game not going to be exclusive? If that happens, everybody's up in arms. What's going on? Xbox is ruining gaming or whatever. Now, and then same thing happens in today's state of play from the journalistic side. Silence. Dead silence, right?
Yep.
And that is entirely frustrating for me. Almost as much frustrating as the possibility of it being true. Which, if that's the case, is on another level of frustration for me in general. Again, towards Sony, right? But this is a game that several people, including this guy, was really excited for. That guy over there was it too. I mean, I was DMing Pong right when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, dude. Because I was like, this is big. Because we didn't know if they were going to win it was
When
gonna get a hit on
yeah,
console. We knew eventually it would,
would
because they had
they
said
said
talked
that.
about that in the past. But to see like, oh, they're hitting day and date, right, with
Right.
consoles, like for
Yep.
the full release. Now this is already playable in a preview state on PC for like 2 years at least right now. But the the full release is hitting this year, and I've been waiting to play it until then, in hopes that Xbox is going to get this game as well, because that's
Yeah.
where I like to play my games, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and to see that Xbox users, even if I have another way of playing it, right?
Yep.
To know that Xbox users like you, right, that's your only really way to play this game,
Yep.
right, are gonna miss out
Yep.
potentially on it.
Potentially. Yeah.
Uh, pisses me off because it's a multi-plat.
Mhm.
PC and Mac, PS5. If that's the if that happens, it reeks of Square. Maybe we knew that Sony was going to go this route before this generation of like
Oh yeah.
trying to money had as many third party stuff as possible, right?
Yeah. And they
Thought I
need
thought I
RPGs.
thought
Let's put it
this
that way.
one would fall under the radar, but you're right. The RPG aspect of this is
Yeah.
maybe where it's fallen. There's honestly, I don't even know how many people on PlayStation play this kind of games. There's actually a bigger audience for this style of game, I believe, on Xbox.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know the numbers 100%, but just I honestly think that, and I don't know if this is um a good move. If this is true, like it could
Yeah.
be the Wolong situation. It could be a
Yep.
3-day moratorium, whatever. You can't speak on it or you can't say with this or whatever for 3 days, and maybe later it'll come out. But for right now, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And the right people are not asking the question
Asking. Yep. For
because
clarification.
they've always asked in the opposite situation.
Correct.
So
Correct.
kudos to you on the tweet because I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
It's just, again, like I said, the way that they've worded it, because Sony is so aggressive when it comes to announcing their exclusivity, whether timed or full, because it hasn't been mentioned and because the way they worded it, I do feel like maybe this one's longer than 3 days, like Wo Long. Maybe this is months. Maybe this is like a month prior to launch. We get the announcement that it's coming to Xbox. Maybe Sony locked this contract up further as far as them talking about the Xbox version. Again, it's another ploy for marketing to get this associated with PlayStation, which, again, from a business standpoint, I understand. I do get it. I understand that Sony's going to continue to do what they do. And if this is a new way they're going to go about it, where they don't buy full exclusivity or timed exclusivity, maybe Larian didn't want to give them full timed exclusivity, like you said, knowing that there is probably at least a similar, if not bigger, audience over on the Xbox side for this type of game. That then Sony said, okay, well, if we can't get timed exclusivity, then we just don't want you to talk about the Xbox version for X amount of period of time, and we'll give you a little bump for the marketing rights, right? So if that's the case, that's fine. But all I'm asking is journalists, at least broach the subject, ask the questions, try to get some clarity, try to get some more answers, because if they continue to dance around and you can't get a straight answer from Sony or from Larian, then we probably know it's some type of clause where they just can't talk about the Xbox version. Because again, if you go ask Sony, and it is a timed exclusive or a console launch, exclusive, they're going to tout that. That's what Sony does. They've always done that. That's a key part of their marketing. So, all I want you to do is go ask the questions, but nobody. Again, you guys got to write important articles about Lulu and stuff because that's more important.
That is what they've been doing instead.
That's what they've been
That's
doing.
a fantastic point as well because
yes.
that's what these same journalists have been
Right.
doing is focusing
Right.
on some representative from Activision's personal Twitter account and
Yes.
taking shots at Sony.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, really, have we gotten to that point right now? Like where your main focus is to try and like make everything that Xbox does seem extreme and look bad, and everything that PlayStation does seem status quo and normal and okay.
Yes. Yes.
It's
In a lot of ways
like
they do.
that's what it is with biased media, man. And games journalism is it sucks.
It does. because
I
it's
mean,
over. It's over the top. It's heavy. It's heavy on one side. Like
yeah.
that's the problem.
I
And then you get a Jez out there, and Jez takes so much
he
flack.
does. He gets called out from other journalists sometimes with
Yeah,
some of his takes. It's like
right.
it's
It's like,
ridiculous.
bro, we got like a handful that write like Xbox, you know, kind of slanted articles, Microsoft slanted articles. And you got this huge, gigantic boat full of PlayStation slanted journalists, and they all get mad at the Xbox, the few Xbox guys that write that way, the few Microsoft guys that write that way, when they actually write for websites like Windows Central. So, like, okay, that's like kind of their shtick. Jez isn't writing for a gamesindustry.biz, which is supposed to be representative of the entire industry. Again, I don't have problems with people having a bias. It's just present yourself clearly. Stop getting upset when you're called out on it and be like, oh, absolutely not. This is just offensive. How could you ever question my integrity on this stuff? And then we can give you a list of all the titles to your articles. And all you got to do is read the titles to know how you're slanted. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It just, again, I'm not saying everyone. There's some really good journalists out here who, even if they're biased, they do try to keep it fair. Again, I've defended Christopher Dring in the past because I think outside of some of his titles that he does, which are clickbait, because that site they need traffic. That's how they get paid these days. The actual meat of his articles generally are pretty balanced. They're not over the top slanted. And so I have defended him. But again, it gets hard when we see a week like this and he has to invoke the name of Trump of all things to write an article. Like I said, you're a journalist, you're a professional writer. You get paid for this, and there was no other analogy you could come up with. And he literally said that when he was defending. Like, I couldn't think of anything else to describe this. What? Anyways, that's enough of that rant. We got some big news to get into here, Mav. So let's, since we broached this subject of the Baldurs Gate 3, which was a part of the State of Play today, let's get into the State of Play, because again, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. You were doing your live reaction show. I was on with Box and Dutch over on the World of Gaming while it was going on. And so I haven't seen, I mean, I know some of your thoughts because we talked a little bit in the DMs, but I actually haven't had been able to discuss this. So let's talk about this today. So Sony had their State of Play today, not a showcase, State of Play. This was announced. We knew it was going to be VR focused. They were very clear. Again, Sony's usually pretty good at setting expectations. So we knew we were going to get the VR stuff. VR is their push this year, folks. Until they have a showcase where they say something different, it really is starting to look like Spider-Man and, Final Fantasy 16, I guess you count that as theirs because it's exclusive, whatever, but that's it. Maybe we get a games as a service this year because they do have a lot in the works. Maybe we get a surprise smaller studio one out of them, but this looks like about it. Otherwise, it's going to be VR. Yeah. Like TV. It's going to be VR. Okay.
We talked about this a while back, that this was the year of VR for them, and this was going to be pushing it. Also, like, I saw this on Twitter just a couple minutes ago, but like, there's a guy I actually know, and you can't take his name for what it's worth because he has Xbox in his name, but I met him doing a podcast a while back, and this guy is definitely not an Xbox fanboy because me and him actually got into a big argument on this show a while back, not on our show, but on the show that I was on. Heated debate back and forth. I mean, we pretty bad. And it was about Game Pass and stuff like that, right? Well, this guy, he got a PSVR 2 today. And I guess it was defective or something because it strobe lighted bright lights in his eye.
Oh, Jesus.
And he had to go see an eye emergency doctor.
What?
Yeah. I don't know how, that was like 12 hours ago or so. I don't have an update since then. I just saw that.
Okay.
I just saw it, right?
I saw defective controllers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is like, there's a video of it on Twitter right now. I think J-Rock had retweeted it. Be careful if you watch it because it actually shows
over the top.
Yeah, and if you have epilepsy or anything like that, you could be prone to seizures for actually seeing this video because it's a massive bright strobe light coming out of that fucking headset.
Right.
So
Right.
just forewarning. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it could probably extremely rare. If this was common, it would be all over the place, right?
Oh yeah.
But just put it out there, just forewarning. You know, I don't know if this is a common thing with VR headsets or whatever, but like keep that. I haven't been able to verify anything beyond seeing that, but knowing that this guy is not a huge Xbox guy, even though he says it in his name, like I'm not taking this as like a fake video or anything like that. Sure. This guy wouldn't do that.
There's going to be defective equipment.
Yeah,
there always is, right? Like I said, I've seen the controller problems. People having controller problems already, and that kind of stuff. And obviously, the battery life is already a topic discussion. So
yeah. Besides that, it seems like a lot of people are really happy with it. There's amazing stuff going on. GT7 supposed to be amazing, cool stuff like that. I think this is definitely the year for VR from them.
For sure.
Yeah, I saw I did see the State of Play. We had our co-stream here earlier today. And it was interesting. I kind of knew it wasn't going to be a third-party show, right? So I was going into it expecting that, right? After what they started out with a bunch of PSVR stuff. And I got to say that I'm not a VR guy, you know, so that I completely didn't care about anything that was shown, period, in that segment. But even if I was a VR guy, I would say that nothing in that segment really would have excited me. Right?
Journey to Foundation is one that made me stop and go, okay.
Fair enough.
But then as I watched, so they announced the Foglands, Green Hell, which is a survival game that's been out everywhere. The first-person shooter Synapse, and the space role-playing game, The Journey to Foundation, which is based off of Isaac Asimov and his books. And then Blinking Narrative Before Your Eyes.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not the VR guy either. Like I said before, I've explained it a million times, until you can jack me in like the Matrix, I'm not interested. But I did think Journey to Foundation looked like a bigger VR experience than I was expecting out of a studio outside of Sony's first party. And it did make me stop, and I went back and rewatched it a couple of times just to see it. But then when I go back and rewatch it, it's still, you could see the limitations of the tech still, right? And the animation and all that kind. It's just not there for me yet.
Was that the shooter?
Yeah, where you were in space, remember, and they were climbing through space and they were looking out at the ships and all that kind of stuff. It kind of looked Mass Effect at times, right? It kind of had that Mass Effect look to it. You used your powers on somebody. It was that like pink, absorbing the energy out of somebody, and you had the weapons and that kind of stuff, and you were sneaking around. That's the only one, but yeah, I agree with you. The VR stuff again,
it was cool. I mean, it was cool. Something for some people that were intrigued. I just didn't think it's like a selling point for PSVR, right?
If you're into VR, you're going to be into it. Like, you don't have to be sold. Like, the deal is that Sony has to try to get more people into it than the less than 5%.
Yeah, I think like if you were talking about a PC VR experience,
right?
Yeah, I agree. But this is like a device within a device, and you're trying to sell people on new hardware and stuff like that. So like, if this was like just, hey, this is just another game, or you know what I mean? I just feel like, it's just stuff. It's
stuff. You know? It's stuff, right?
And there will be some things that, like individually, like, oh, that looks really cool for me, right? It's just nothing there that had like, I feel like mass exciting appeal, to draw in an audience that said, come play this on PSVR 2, right?
The closest thing they have is Gran Turismo 7, right?
Yes,
Gran Turismo 7 is your seller. That's your killer app right now, because everything I've seen, even though yes, the graphics don't look great outside of the car. But like, if you're a car enthusiast and you're into racing, like, I would try that, right? Like, even though I'm not into VR, I would try that just for the experience, because riding inside the cockpit, looking around, using your mirrors like you do in a normal car, it does look very good at that. I think that's your only killer app that you have right now. But yeah, I agree with you, Mav, wholeheartedly. And then they went into Bungie's, of course, Destiny 2's Lightfall expansion. They showed a new trailer for that. Again, if you're a Destiny fan, it's a big deal. Destiny continues to drag people back. It's a crack addiction. It is what it is. Destiny's huge. I will say again, they do a great job. Bungie does a great job with their trailers. They do a great job with their cinematics. The story is interesting. They do a very good job of producing it like a movie trailer, so it feels like you're a part of a big, gigantic story. It was impressive. It's Lightfall. It's Destiny 2. It doesn't make me want to hop into it again, but for millions, it does. And so that was showing off. And then they showed off Chia, that indie game we've been seeing
already come to Xbox, or I know it's been announced for Xbox before. I've seen that game multiple times.
Yeah, this one's launching in PlayStation Plus day one, March 21st. So yeah, I don't know if it's still coming to Xbox or not, because we haven't seen it for a while on Xbox side.
Yeah, I remember seeing it at indie showcase things in the past.
Yep, correct.
For there.
Yep. But yeah, Chia, again, it's an indie title.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool. There's things here, right?
Yeah.
We established so far that this State of Play has video games in it.
Yeah, it does. It does have the indie title that did kind of excite me a little bit, from the Tetris from Enhance, who did Tetris Effect and Res Infinite, was Humanity. Now that looked interesting as a puzzler.
I can't play that game.
Why?
Because there's too much stuff going on. There's too many people. There's too many things. My attention issues, like I can't even watch the screen.
Really?
I'm getting like I just got stressed out when I was watching.
How do you play RTSs?
Well,
how do you play H?
They're small dots and like smaller. Like this is like trying to figure out a puzzle while this is going on and all these people going on, all this stuff. I'm like I on the co-stream earlier. I respect what they're doing. It looks cool. But I hate it. I can't play it. I can't do it. Like honestly can't.
Learn something new about Mav every day.
Yeah, I feel like I would spaz out while trying to play that. Probably the same weird thing that I had against the game with the little creatures that walk around the feet. That was on PlayStation. You know, it was an exclusive. No, it was exclusive that came out last year.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it. I know exactly what you're
it was a big deal game. Yeah. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
And they had all these like little creatures walking around your feet the whole time. It's like that drives me. It's some weird things sometimes like drive me crazy. The game honestly looks pretty cool, right? Yeah. And I think this could be like a little surprise game that's gonna a lot of people are gonna like. For me, awesome. I cannot touch it. I don't.
That's fine.
I don't think I can. I don't think I can.
It's what was interesting about it, Mav, is it started out looking like some kind of peaceful journey where you're trying to lead people to safety, right? Or you're trying to lead people to a different zone, and you gather more people as you go, and it becomes this big, gigantic kind of lemmings situation where you got everybody following you. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of changed, and all of a sudden there was these black and white people walking around that you had to get your people out of the way, and you had to move blocks to move them out of the way, right? Otherwise, your people got like converted into them. And so now you're trying to keep your people safe from these other people, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, those people showed up with some freaking red lightsabers, red batons, and then all of a sudden your people have blue batons, and it becomes a freaking Jedi battle in the middle of this game as you're still leading people through the puzzle. Like they're actually battling, like clashing in the middle. Like that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is completely different from what I saw coming. Humanity is the name of it. Go check it out. Watch the video. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It looks very cool.
Yeah, everybody on our co-stream was really like, digging that except for me. I was like, I just can't do it. I'm sorry.
Well,
besides that, then we got into some big third parties, right? So we got
I thought we were gonna cover your favorite one though.
Oh wait, okay, I know where you're going with this.
Goodbye Volcano High.
Looks pretty solid, man. It looked pretty solid.
It's a rhythm band game, Mav, on the last days of Earth before they get wiped out by the asteroid.
Yeah.
And the teenage dinosaurs have teenage angst, and they're going through relationship problems as the asteroid's going to destroy them all, and they're trying to keep their band together and make music. Come on, Mav. Doesn't get much better than that.
I like the art style of the dinosaurs a lot in this game. I actually do. For some reason in this game, I really like the art style of the characters. I like the dinosaurs. I like the dinosaurs wearing like a Letterman jacket, like hanging out. Like I don't know what
It's
it is, man. It's
amazing.
cool. Cool
Amazing.
character designs there. Um, I can't comment too much on it beyond that. I do like rhythm games though,
Well,
so
here you go.
maybe
It's a band
maybe
game. It's like a
it's
rock
got
band.
my cool looking dinos and it's in a rhythm game. This might be
They,
for me, man.
they remind me of furries, They-
Yeah, that's what
I
people were
can't.
saying in the chat
I
too.
can't get rid of my. I can't get out. Were people really saying?
Yeah, I
Whenever I
saw that.
see this game, it reminds me of furries. I can't get out of my head. This looks like people dressed up in dinosaur outfits. Like it's so weird to me. Uh, then we're getting to the big third parties here. We had Naruto, of course, new game from them, part of the Ultimate Ninja Storm. Connections is it full title, so that's coming. Then we had the Baldur's Gate 3. Again, we just talked about that a lot with the journalism rants, so we don't have to get into that, but it looks awesome as a turn-based tactic style CRPG fan from back in the day, like me and Mav are. Baldur's Gate 3 looks absolutely ridiculously cool. And then we had Wayfinder, which is the new MMO that's coming out. PlayStation 5 and PC. The beta is coming to PlayStation 5 first. Again, there's no confirmation that this is PlayStation 5 only. They said the beta is coming to PlayStation 5 first. So I don't know what that means. Steel has been signed up for it on PC for a while now. Cool looking MMO. Don't know if it's going to take off. It's always hit or miss with these games. It does look cool. It does look interesting. But that was announced. Then we get into the big stuff map. So then we get into Street Fighter 6. Tell me your thoughts on Street Fighter 6. They showed off new characters today, right? They showed off Zangief, Lily, and Cammy, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts were on what you saw today from Street Fighter 6.
I thought that there's new characters for the game that, cool. Like, I mean, those, I know there's more characters coming that are always going to be announced. So the character announcement trailers don't like crazy excite me like they do.
Well, they showed off a lot of fighting. That's why.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of fighting so far for Street Fighter 6.
Okay.
There's only so much like of that you can really see for me that to get excited because I'm already sold on the game. Right? Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8. Now we'll talk about this later. The other big one that maybe could come in this year as well. I'm a big fighting game fan, right? I'm not the best at the games, but I love playing them. And I'm already been sold on Street Fighter 6. So like the watching that stuff now is like it's like cool, but it doesn't add anything really to a show like this for me.
Okay.
It's like cool. Yeah, now I've already because we saw way more longer extended gameplay segments of this already a couple times, right? So it's not adding anything new for me except just telling us the other characters, right?
Sure.
And it's something I may go back and watch, be like, oh, cool. Like, how does this character's moves like work or whatever? But like for like wow factor for a show or to get hyped or excited or anything like that, it doesn't do anything for me, right?
Yeah.
It's something that could have just dropped as an individual trailer somewhere,
It's important to PlayStation though, because they still have the mentality since they, bought the exclusivity for Street Fighter 5, and so it became just known as a PlayStation game, and obviously it had one of its worst performing titles of all time because of that. But at the same time, it's still recognizable and known as a PlayStation title. So they're trying to keep that, even though this one's going multi-plat. They're trying to keep that kind of that mindset that this is PlayStation, right? But I thought the characters look fantastic. I will say every time I do see Street Fighter 6, it looks better than it did before. And my girl Cammy was looking real good. They did a nice job with her. Lily looked like a really interesting character today. She had some really cool moves and specials that they showed her pulling off. So I thought it was a good showing for Street Fighter 6. Then we had another showing, of course, for Resident Evil 4. Which we have seen a ton of, Mav, but they showed off even more of Resident Evil 4 today. Anything stand out from Resident Evil 4 for you, the remake?
That game looks awesome. Looks really cool. Again, I've seen Resident Evil 4 stuff before already now, so it's just another trailer for something that we've seen, which is cool. It adds some more stuff to it. I'm ready for the game to come out. It's kind of the same sentiment I had for Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter 6, yeah.
I don't get any more. I'm not any more excited for Resident Evil 4 than I was previously.
Okay.
I'm not any less. It's
Yep.
something that could have dropped as an individual trailer and been
Sure.
completely happy.
Yep. I see what you're doing here. Okay. Resident Evil 4. No, it looked stellar. Again, Capcom is obviously going all out for Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
This
It's going to be
looks
amazing.
incredible. What they've done with this just is beyond words as far as a remake goes. This is what you want to see, like taking even 2 and 3 and bumping it up, 10 notches. Like this is incredible what I'm seeing on screen. Again, it's not gonna be day one for me. I will get it down the road on sale. Resident Evil 4 is number 2 on my list of Resident Evil games. Obviously,
Yeah.
Code Veronica, which everybody thinks I'm, completely in for, but I love Code Veronica. But I think I will be jumping in this at some point, and it looks stellar. So great showing for that as well. And then Mav, let's get to this one because this is how they ended the show. And a game that we've been waiting to see more on, actually. So
Yeah.
this is not going to fall into the category that you just put the other 2 in for sure.
Yeah.
So Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, got a big, gigantic blowout. Like they did.
Yeah, 15 minutes on it, right?
They showed a full mission. Well, not a full mission, but they were in the mission, but they showed the mission to completion, even with the cutscenes and that kind of stuff. Then they did a further walkthrough of some of the customization, of the loot, of the weapons that you're going to be able to find. All of that. They did a nice deep dive on this game. So I'll let you start, Mav, because this one is going to be the interesting one.
So
here,
this
where
is like
we
y'all
might
are
have
starting.
different opinions.
Y'all are gonna start getting my feel for the entire show now.
Yes, which I think we already did, but
Yeah, I put my score on Twitter.
yeah,
I talked about it on our co-stream.
sure.
Here's the thing. Do I think this game is probably going to be a good game? Yes. I think it's probably going to be fun. Yes. Right? Is it what I want to see? No. I was legitimately kind of disappointed watching it. We finally got the reveal of how this game's really going to play, because this is really the first long gameplay sections we've seen, and I feel like we've missed Rocksteady for 8 years now.
Yep.
And I feel like we're going to continue to miss Rocksteady going forward. Because this, to me, was not a Rocksteady game. It missed that feeling, that charm, that uniqueness that they built as a studio.
This is interesting.
Up until now, in my mind, I've always dreamed, okay, I mean, I would love Rocksteady to make like a Ninja Turtles game, because it would be like a dark, gritty like theme, like.
But wait, hold on. Let me stop you here.
Yeah.
I got questions for you, okay? But you knew this was Suicide Squad. We knew this was Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the
right. So what I'm asking you is, taking Suicide Squad, you just wanted Suicide Squad to drop into a dark, gritty Arkham and do their thing, like Gotham Knights?
I was hoping it'd be a little bit more serious than, even though it's Suicide Squad. There's 2 Suicide Squad movies that came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to put into perspective, and which one I prefer, which is far from the norm, is the first
Jared Leto's the best Joker.
I like the first Suicide Squad movie better than the second one. I know that's an unpopular opinion, right?
Okay.
That one was a little bit dark and gritty, right?
Okay. Yep.
Second one was corny as fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was still a fun movie.
Sure.
To me, this game is more like James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Right? And for me, Rocksteady's style is more like the other in the past, right? Like Rocksteady has, but it's not just, it's okay. So Rocksteady to me has submitted themselves as a unique studio that made them special, right? And because they're the ones that started that Arkham combat that everybody tried to copy.
Correct.
They're the ones that had that ultra visualized, stylized, single player, open world style game that had the great pacing and story and gameplay and all these things, right? And what I saw when I was watching this trailer, right? And granted, you're right, but it's because of Suicide Squad probably. So maybe that's my problem now. after seeing the gameplay, maybe it's clicking for me. Like, I don't want Rocksteady to be making this game. I'd have rather them made Gotham Knights and made it better.
I was just going to say that.
So
I was just going to say you would rather them flip-flop.
Which originally, if you go back to the history of these games, the reason why it's taken 8 years, because there's been a lot of back and forth within WB of who's making what and all this kind of stuff. It's very interesting what's happened. And for me, I feel like when I'm watching this game, I've seen this style of game by a bunch of other creators before, but a bunch of other studios. I've seen games like Crackdown. I've seen games like Infamous. I've seen games like Sunset Overdrive. I've seen games like Prototype. I've seen games where you're running around shooting, you're super fast paced and all that stuff. Can Rocksteady maybe do it better than everybody else, right? With co-op and all that kind of stuff? Maybe so, right? It's just not what I have wanted from Rocksteady. I want Rocksteady to make a Rocksteady game that I've always grown to know and love that we've been missing for 8 years, right? Okay. And that is just a personal thing for me. And maybe I didn't put 2 and 2 together when the Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. And when they made that title, for me, a point when they said kill the Justice League, I was like, oh, this shit's going dark, right? I was like, this shit's going dark, right? But when I saw this video, this gameplay, it wasn't really dark. It was kind of all over the place. You had King Shark running around with a Tommy gun, like, I mean, just craziness. Cool. Like I said, this game could be fun. I got to play it. I'm not going to just dismiss this as like a shit game. I'm not saying that at all, right? I'm not saying this is going to be a bad game, right?
Yeah.
It just, right now, it doesn't make me excited whatsoever because my disappointment comes from the fact that I'm still going to be missing Rocksteady experiences because this, to me, doesn't check that box. I've been missing it for 8 years now at one of my favorite studios. I hold them on a pillar above so many, and I have waited for so long for their next thing. We've been missing out on. And this is not what I had hoped I would see from the next one they make. And I will say this feels almost just like Gotham Knights in a way, a forced issue from WB to find ways to make more money and monetize these games and franchises, and maybe why we're getting this experience with battle passes, live service, all that stuff, instead of possibly what Rocksteady originally would have maybe wanted to make that they maybe got pulled off of, right? And to me, that would be a disappointment if that's the case. We saw what is happening with Hogwarts Legacy, single player game. Going to be sold 12 million copies, right?
Yep.
Not everything has to be forced into these things of ideas of ways of making all this money and all this kind of stuff for the purpose of, taking advantage of the IPs and multiplayer stuff. It didn't work that well for them for Gotham Knights with WB Montreal. Can Rocksteady pull it off? Rocksteady is probably a more talented studio than WB Montreal, in my opinion. Right? I think Rocksteady has a better chance to pull off that ultimate quality gameplay and make it really fun and all that kind of stuff. Will I probably still buy this game day one and have fun playing it and all that kind of stuff? Yes. But it doesn't put it on that pedestal like I usually have for a Rocksteady game.
Okay.
It's not like, imagine BioWare, like that level, right? Imagine that BioWare all of a sudden made some like over the top, like fun, like running around shooty type game instead of making like a story driven focused RPG, right? Or let's say that Bethesda Game Studios, Todd Howard's next project is that, and he spends 8 years on that instead of making the next Elder Scrolls, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how I would have the same feeling. Like I would rather you, Todd, make your big RPGs instead of this thing. I don't know. It could be fun. I'm not saying it's not going to be fun. I've just seen this stuff before in other franchises, and before Rocksteady had something more unique.
Let me push back a little bit here on the story wise. Steel was reading my mind in the chat, by the way.
Yeah.
I think there's Rocksteady through and through, Mav. I think you kind of missed it because you're so focused on the action. But You want a darker story? How about when Wonder Woman shows up? And
That I saw
lassos
that was
Flash?
that part was
Bro,
great. That part was
bro.
great. But
But
that's only
you could
the but that's not the gameplay. Also, like,
but you can see the stories there.
yeah, the
right?
story's there. The story's going
Right.
to be there. And that segment alone, the rest of the story stuff they showed looked like ass. I'm just be honest with you. It looked corny. It looked like I'm not a big fan of the Brainiac stuff. I've seen it multiple times and done in these games. Oh, take over the superheroes, make them bad. It's fucking I'm sick of that shit. I've seen it done lots of times before. But it's interesting in a way. I was hoping they're going to go more dark with some of that stuff. Instead, you're fighting these corny ass looking aliens all over the place and stuff like that.
But you can't say that that's going to be the whole game.
No,
because then they showed
can't.
but then they showed flashes of Superman. They showed flashes of Batman, and it looked much darker, much darker. So I think
Except when you're playing the game, like,
I think but I think there's gonna be different environments to this game.
Hopefully,
what we saw was a bright, sunny, open city with this big monstrosity dropping in, right? And obviously shooting shit and all that kind of stuff. And you're in this bright lit area, and it's Flash, so it's a different character. I think when we get to Batman, you're gonna be talking about a much darker environment, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna be out in the open city in bright day sunlight fighting Batman. Right? I don't think that that's what Rocksteady's going to do. You're going to get a nighttime Arkham, right? Like back in the day.
I hope so. They show that stuff to me. I'll maybe get the one part I liked. I said this during the Coast stream was that Wonder Woman segment right there, right?
Yes.
When Flash was saying you have to kill us, Diana, right?
Yep.
I was like, oh shit, like that was gripping. I agree, 100%. I love that part. Everything else was just like I've seen it with Crackdown, Sunset Overdrive. I've seen the same style of gameplay there. I have seen that time and time again. The gunplay looked arcadey and silly and stuff, and I'm like, cool, yeah, that it could be really fun, right? But I'm used to this badassness, grittiness.
Okay.
From Rocksteady, and that's what I wanted. That's when I talked about like my dream with like them to make a Ninja Turtles game one day, right? And I've said this before, dream game scenarios. We talked about it on Xbox Ultimate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I want them to make that gritty thing that nobody else has with that franchise, right? And maybe they just, I don't know. I feel like this is a forced issue from WB. And we'll see though. I got to play the game. Could be fun. Could be all that stuff. I could end up loving it. Could be one of my favorite games in the generation. Right now, my hype is nowhere near where it should be for a Rocksteady game.
Right.
That's my disappointment. Right?
Yep. Caitlin's defending you.
Is she? Yeah.
She doesn't see us debate very often, so this is funny. It's cool to have a different opinion from Maverick from time to time when it comes to certain things that we see, because we're so like-minded all the time. It's interesting. And I'll give you my take.
Yeah. You love it. That's fine.
I'm not the superhero guy, right? I could care less about superhero games. Gotham Knights didn't do anything for me, especially when it came out with the whole 30 frames and everything else. It just didn't do anything for me. Suicide Squad was low on my list. I thought it looked interesting. It gets bonus points because Harley's in it, so I can fix Harley. So I'm always interested in Harley when she's around, and I think it's fun as hell. So I didn't go into this with any expectations. But I saw this today. I was blown away. I'm like, this is freaking phenomenal. I'm all about this. We got high octane looter shooter, vertical Borderlands style co-op. We got customizable characters. I'm all in. I'm all in on Suicide Squad now. I think this looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I wanted to see out of Suicide Squad. I loved every single character had unique special abilities. None of them were similar in any way, shape, or form. You could tell what character was on the screen by the special moves that they were pulling off instantaneously, which was awesome, because there's some games where you can't ever tell the difference. And I thought that was pure Rocksteady. They did a great job making each character feel different. I loved everything I saw today. I thought, again, was I like going, oh, this has never been done before? Well, no, I wasn't. There was mechanics from tons of different games in there, but I thought this was looking extremely polished. You found the article later where they confirmed they're shooting for 60 frames because I
Yeah,
was
that
watching
had
this.
me very happy
Yeah,
because I was
because
concerned about it.
when Dutch and I saw it, and we talked a little bit at the end of World of Gaming about it as we kind of were seeing it, and I said, Dutch, this looks too quick. This looks fast. This looks 60 frames to me. There's no way they're gonna do 30 frames on this. So the fact that they're shooting for 60 frames, hey, bonus points for you there. The writing, again, superhero games, take them or leave them for me. I thought it was all great. I was laughing at some of the Flash stuff that he was doing. And then the Wonder Woman scene, I was actually like, oh, whoa, whoa, we just got real serious here because I didn't know how Flash was going to answer her or if he was going to answer her. And then when he said, you've got to kill us all, I was like, yo, okay. Oh, okay. All right. So I just thought this was fantastic. Again, the fact that it's been in production for 8 years is crazy to me. But I do see the rock steady quality in this game. I do see that it looks like, yes, you can say that there's pieces of different games in it, but I see that Rocksteady is trying to give their flair to it, like Arcane does with their games. I still believe, and again, like you said, Matt, none of us are going to know shit until we get
Yeah,
controllers in our hands and
100%.
we play
I
this thing. It would
could
just
be
not.
great.
Right, it could be. I just think that Rocksteady is putting their spin on this thing, and I think the Rocksteady quality that they've become the known for is going to shine through in this game, even if it does have similarities. Now, are the battle passes and that kind of stuff tacked on because WB was looking for a more games as a service type game? Sure, I can see why that. They went to their best studio and said, hey, we need a game we can monetize. Everybody else is doing it. We need it too. We're in a tough spot. So you guys got to make this thing work. I can see that totally happen. But I think that Rocksteady, unlike other teams, like what we saw with Crystal Dynamics and the Avengers, I think Rocksteady may have figured this one out and figured out how to make it work within the game itself. Not, hey, this is the games of service and we're going to squeeze a story and, Suicide Squad into it, but we're making a Suicide Squad game that we're just so happen to be turning into a games as a service. And I think there's a difference between those two ways of making a game. And I think that Rocksteady handled it. And I think that they're still within their wheelhouse with this game. It wasn't like they're trying, it wasn't like they were forced to, pound themselves into a round hole in their square, right? So I think that it just really impressed me. I was more sold today on Suicide Squad than I have been in the past. So for me, it hit all the right marks. So, hey, like you said though, none of us are going to know until we get it in our hands. We'll see. I just think it looks cool. I think it looks freaking awesome. So, I like the gameplay. I like the speed.
I hope
it was gonna be chaotic.
I hope it's fun when I play it, right? And the other things that what I wish could have been melt away.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now I just have a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas for Rocksteady, right? The things I would rather them make, right? Than what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? And that's my problem. Like I honestly feel like this could have been WB Montreal's game, and that would have been a better fit for me. Like I missing that dark grittiness from Rocksteady here, and that's my main problem. And if it's still a great game, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Whether I am super excited about it or not. But I think it's because of where I hold Rocksteady in my head, right, and the kind of games that I have been missing from them for the last 8 years. And wanting, because it's not just missing from them, it's missing in gaming right now, right?
Yeah.
Like we're missing that Rocksteady flavor,
right?
That I felt like was unique, and they were the ones that were like the masters at it. You know what I mean? And like the next Rocksteady game, I was hoping was going to be that next iteration of that.
Yeah.
And check that box for me.
Right.
And instead, we're getting this. And could it be a better version of a lot of the other games that I mentioned before, or like maybe not necessarily 1-to-1? And nothing's a 1-to-1, right? But it's more similar to other experiences that I've seen from a lot of other studios create.
Sure.
Than the uniqueness that made the previous Rocksteady games what they were, right? So we'll see. Somebody said in the chat a little minute ago, I'm gonna get FOMO and get it anyway. you know, and I will because it's a superhero game,
Right.
right? It's gonna be good. It's Rocksteady. It's gonna be fun, probably.
Yep.
Um, it's just right now not what I want. If that
Right.
makes sense from them. So I feel like when I'm saying this stuff, people are thinking I'm saying the game looks like ass, like
No.
it looks horrible, right? I
No.
maybe said some of it. Dude. It looks corny at times and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, Rocksteady is who they are, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. What
Yeah.
we'll see what it turns out to be. Um,
No, I agree with you.
I I came away from the state of play very underwhelmed
What was your final
overall.
grade? What was your final
I
grade?
gave it a 4,
Shit.
a 4 out of 10. You could have taken it like there's no from here. Here's the reason why. Okay,
It's a broken state of play.
this is not like a video. Video game scores and show scores are different. I gave it a 4 out of 10 because there's no point to it.
Okay.
And in my opinion, like unless you bring that level of excitement or hype or like stuff you haven't seen before or stuff like that, there's no point in having a showcase like this. These trailers could have been dropped individually over time and had the same or maybe even better impact than they did compiling together here, where now everybody's shitting on the show. It's not just me that didn't like it,
Oh no,
right?
no, no,
All
no.
over the place.
Keely
So
was
instead,
asking, and it was C and below.
yeah, you
for most people, so.
put these all in a negative light now because there was nothing amazing about the show. So you drop these trailers over time individually and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think they could each have great impacts. Putting a bunch of mid stuff together like this is just pointless. So what's the point of having a show unless you're bringing something exciting? And individually, is there something special for individual people? Yeah, but it's
Mhm.
not. Nothing here is gonna draw the. Oh, did you see that? Yeah, that's awesome. Pointless, fucking pointless show to have. Point blank.
Okay.
It's a pointless show. Therefore, it's a 4. I was joking earlier. I said I would give it a 9 if they announced that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to Xbox.
Just to talk about what you brought up there, Keely put out his normal poll that he always puts out after shows, and he's gotten 27, nearly 28,000 votes on it. 9% gave it an A, 22% gave it a B, 33% gave it a C, and 36% gave it a D or below. So definitely the majority, 69% were C or below. That's pretty telling. Now, I was much more generous than you towards the show. Again, I look at them in a vacuum. I knew exactly what Sony was doing here. Yes, Mav, you're not wrong per se to say they could drop them in individual trailers, but that's not Sony's MO and
Yeah,
how they do things. And they obviously are doing what they've always been known to do, which is to create the narrative that certain big third party titles are only going to be on PlayStation through their marketing, whether that's real or not. They do that consistently, and they wanted to push their VR, which is a big part of 2023 for PlayStation. So, kind of knowing what I was getting into going into this show, I would say that this was a C plus B minus show for me. Somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7, somewhere in that neighborhood for me, because I think they did exactly what they said they were going to do. And even though VR is not for me, so I can't get excited about it. Again, they're pushing exactly what they need to push. That's their marketing push now for first party is the VR. I thought they showed off, some newer games that people had not seen before that were different. And then I think that with the third party stuff, they highlighted four pretty big titles. With Baldur's Gate 3, obviously being announced for the console, that's a big one. Even though it's niche, it still shows that Sony's out there wheeling and dealing in some form or fashion. I thought Resident Evil 4, obviously, they want that associated with PlayStation, even if it is multi-plat, and same with Street Fighter 6. And then obviously Suicide Squad, who they got marketing rights for. I thought it was a great deep dive. And again, I guess that's where some of my extra points come from because Suicide Squad actually showed up and it was great for me. So therefore, I kind of got excited about that. And of course, my Baldur's Gate 3 excitement is still there. The fact that it's got a chance to come to Xbox, that they finally announced the consoles, I thought that was amazing. So I just gave it a little bit bonus. So I'd say C plus B minus, but again, I understand why most people are C and below. I mean, it wasn't, like you said, a spectacular show that couldn't have been done just through regular announcements, through regular drops, through trailers on their, PlayStation website or through the PlayStation blog. You're you're right. There was nothing outstanding outside of the gameplay from Suicide Squad, which was extended, which did show it off a lot. So, yeah. Again, it was what it was. So, we will see going forward how the rest of this year is going to look for Sony. I did see many in the Sony side, the Sony camp, the Sony community going, where's our showcase? This is ridiculous. Where's our showcase? What is going on? Why are we getting this? Why is it all third party? Why is it VR? Because again, not everybody in the Sony community is buying VR. That's not how this works. They are speaking to a very small percentage of their community. Very
Right.
small. So the rest of the community is like, okay, this is great, but this is stuff we all knew about. Outside of Baldur's Gate, this is all stuff we knew about.
Yeah, like Kay Asante said, missing the magic.
Yeah. Yeah, it
It's
doesn't have
just,
the Sony.
it's just a here's some shit, put it in a show, and let's just put it out there because we have these
Right, 'cause
deals
we
with
ha-
these
we have
third
to
party
have something.
companies.
We have to have something.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just what it felt like. It's like,
Sure.
okay, I don't know, man. I don't see the point in those ones at all. I feel like it was a wasted 45 minutes, and I could have just watched the individual trailers when they drop,
Right.
and it would have had equal impact, right?
I get it.
So what was your score again?
6.5 to a 7.
6.5.
C plus B minus.
Bad take. I'm just kidding.
That's fine.
I'm just kidding.
Again,
I'm just kidding.
more people agreed with you, so
No,
69% of
you're
Kiwis,
fine.
yeah, no. I mean, again, I wouldn't. It was nowhere near like an 8 or anything like that. I mean, again,
Yeah,
there
no,
was
you're good.
Missing
Like everybody has right to individual opinions.
yeah, no,
You know,
you're fine about it.
but it's funny.
Yeah.
6.5 is fair.
Yeah.
You know, I like if I had liked Suicide Squad more, I'd probably be there with you because 15
That's
minutes.
what I said.
Because a third of it was there. It was that
Yeah.
was that game, and I was left with when I was watching that was the main issue is because that was the big thing for the show, right?
Right.
And like I'm left like okay, this is cool, but like it's not what I was hoping for, right? And at the end of the day, so again, doesn't look bad. It just not what I wanted, and
Right.
I feel like PlayStation's bound to have some way better shows later this year. The last one, I think, the last State of Play, I gave it like a 9.
Mhm.
Right? I remember
Yep.
people criticized me for that even because like you
Oh,
gave
yeah.
the Xbox thing a blah 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 or whatever. How could you do that? I'm just being blunt, honest. Like it's boring for me. This show,
Mhm.
So
Yeah. It's not going to hit for everybody, and obviously it didn't. Again, you're in the main boat, right? You're obviously in agreement with the majority of people who watch this show. So, yeah. So that was a good breakdown of the state of play for Sony. Let's get to a big leak announcement, not announcement, that came from an investment call today. Again, we have people that complain about leakers and inside people that drop information when devs should be the ones who get to announce their game when they're ready. And we had a big game that got leaked by their own company today. And we are going back to WB again, because in today's WB investment call, they talked about obviously upcoming performing titles that are going to be out this year. And man, they just dropped out of the blue. Oh, yeah, we're going to have Mortal Kombat 12 this year.
yeah.
We know how
what a
active
great way to announce games.
poor Ed Boon, right?
Yeah.
Again, I like leakers. I like information.
The funny
but
thing is he's been
yes.
asked so many times
Yes.
in his AMAs.
Yes.
He's like, I can't
Yes.
say anything. I can't say anything. And like
It's not ready yet.
And you
We're
can
not
tell,
ready yet.
You can tell how much he wants to talk
Yes.
about it. He
Yes.
can't. And then it gets
Right.
put out this way. Poor Ed Boon.
It's put out this way. So of course, you can join the investor calls if you own stock and that kind of stuff. There's plenty of people out there, and they get they get links from friends or whatever else. So somebody got the link. listened into the call, recorded it, and then spread the word. Mortal Kombat 12 is due out this year. Even though Ed Boon had hinted in the past that it wasn't going to be Mortal Kombat 12, the first one out the gate, which is also interesting, Mav. I don't know if that was his way of trying to keep it secret. But he was pretty emphatic when he was asked, like, hey, we got more than one iron in the fire. Mortal Kombat 12 is not the first one. We've got something else in the works. He said that multiple times during those AMAs, Mav. But here it is, Mortal Kombat 12.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't the other game. The surprise game, the new game.
The surprise game. Yeah, the new game. Yeah.
But it's what it is.
Yeah. Do we think, I mean, again, this is an investor call. This isn't an official announcement or anything like that. They're talking about money, and they're obviously want their investors to be positive in the year ahead. So obviously they mentioned Suicide Squad, which we know is coming out May 26th, and then said Mortal Kombat 12. What do you think, Mav? Do you think this is honest goodness leak? It's going to be this year? Do you think this is an investment call, kind of pump up, like, hey, we're really hoping Mortal Kombat 12 comes this year? Or what do you think, man?
I think they are putting pressure on them to get MK12 out this year. Maybe originally, like, Ed Boon wanted to do his other game first, and then maybe because of what's happened with WB over the last, like, 2 years or year and a half or so, they said, hey, make MK12 the priority because we need money, right? We're not taking any chances right now. And maybe that's been put on the forefront. And I feel like we already had anticipation that he did have a game this year, right? Because he's been putting out that energy. So that doesn't surprise me. The only thing that surprised me was this one as opposed to the other one, right? But regardless, I'm fucking excited, like MK12 on top of Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 in the same year after last generation's shitty generation of fighters, when we only only NetherRealm was really holding up the fort there, to be honest with you. Right? Last gen, like, it had some like decent things here and there and some good stuff, but like it was missing like great games from the big tentpole franchises. Street Fighter 5 was a disappointment to a lot of people. It launched in a bad state. It was missing a lot of content. The last Tekken game was not it for me, right? It just didn't click for me. This Tekken 8 looks like the evolution that I wanted it to get to this gen. Street Fighter 6 looks amazing. As good as Mortal Kombat 11 was, I can't wait for Mortal Kombat 12. Right? Sure. So this year, between those three games, what a hell of a year for fighting games coming, man. It is. I'm curious when it's coming. It's got to be later, because like it's got to be later in the year. But if look, I want to put it in this perspective also, because we know MK12 is going to be a massive hit. It's going to sell a crap ton, right? And we know that Hogwarts Legacy is selling record pace as well, right? If Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League also hits, I mean, we're talking about 3 monster games from WB all in the same year. Like, that's a damn good year for any publisher to have 3 big giant titles like that hit. It shows where we are in the generation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It shows where we are in this generation too, where we're starting to finally have these kind of things happen. You know what I mean? So they still got to happen. They still got to hit right now. Right now they're 1 for 1, right? With Hogwarts, right? We'll see if they can complete that trifecta and get Suicide Squad, Kill Justice League, and have hopefully be a great game, and MK12. But dude, I'm super excited for MK12 now. I like, curious when we'll actually get a real reveal for it and not this. E3 is probably what we had talked about before. So are they going to wait that long now that the cat's out of the bag, or are they going to go ahead and do something? I will bet they have more. I bet they have freaking PlayStation marketing rights though, because it seems like that's the thing for WB right now.
Could potentially be. Could potentially be that. It'd be interesting if that's also underneath with Street Fighter 6 being PlayStation, that they're trying to corner the market on fighting games again. I think Mortal Kombat might be able to stand on its own. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think that they do whatever they had planned. I think if it's not within the next couple weeks, I think it's moved up now. I think that Ed Boon has been sitting on this for so long. If this was the actual game all along, and again, he was adamant that there was something else. He was adamant that there was another game outside of Mortal Kombat 12, that they weren't going to talk about it, that Injustice wasn't there, that there was a new something different. So I think if that, maybe they come out and just announce whatever the new project is and go, haha, just kidding. It's not Mortal Kombat 12. No, I think if they had something planned for Mortal Kombat 12, if it wasn't within the next couple weeks, I think they move it up. And I think we get that prior to E3. Because now the cat is out of the bag. Now Ed Boon, he's going to be on social media. Everybody knows.
Yeah, he can talk about it now, right?
He can talk about it. So have an announcement, right? Have an announcement. Just get it out there in the open, and then everybody can talk about it, and everybody's cool. I think that's what you got to do at this point. I think you got to capitalize on it and just get it done. But yeah, you're right, Mav. And think about this with Xbox. You're going to get Guilty Gear, Strive, which again, I know it's already been out, but we're coming to Game Pass. Blaze Blue. Getting Blaze Blue.
Yeah, that's
then we're getting then we're getting Street Fighter. Then we're getting we're getting Mortal Kombat. Then we're getting Tekken 8.
If they were to somehow
5 fighting games in 1 year
and put out a new Soul Calibur on top of all this stuff, and kind of return it to its glory. The last one also didn't really hit for me. Last gen, it was almost like these fighting games kind of got relegated to like a B tier budget almost, it seemed like, from these publishers.
Yeah.
But we know a lot of these publishers are doing well right now, better than they were at that time, somewhat, because they've had these games hit, right? Like Bandai Namco had a great year last year, right? And now WB's having a good year, right? Because of Hogwarts Legacy. So maybe I don't know, maybe we're the places where they are. Hogwarts Legacy obviously was given the time and attention it needed, and that studio was not a proven studio for a big AAA. Right. So maybe they give games like Soul Calibur, like, hey, let's bring that franchise back to prominence, right? I hope so. Besides that, though, Tekken 8 is going to be massive, I feel like.
Yes, it's going to be.
What's your most you're kind of like me. You like fighting games, but you don't like. Yeah, you're not hardcore. Yeah. I'm a little bit. I'm like slightly above button mashing. Like I know the moves and stuff, right? But like I don't get like hardcore, and I don't count frames, right? I'm not a frame counter at all. I don't know some of the more in depth moves. I know the basic moves, and I know a lot of the special moves and stuff like that. But like, when you talk about countering a counter and like master like super juggle combos and all that kind of shit, like I don't go that in depth, right? But which one of these is your would you say is your most anticipated out of all the fighting games hitting this year?
Well, out of the new ones, oh boy, that's a tough one.
Are you Tekken guy, Street Fighter guy, or Mortal Kombat guy?
I'm all of them like the same because again, I play them all the same way, right? So it's just like, again, I'm super.
Those are like the 3 tent poles, right? For fighting.
I'm super pumped for Guilty Gear because again, I missed out on Guilty Gear. I love Guilty Gear. I love the animation. I love the stories. I love everything about Guilty Gear. So I'm super excited about that one. But the 3 new ones, the 3 big tent poles, like I really liked Mortal Kombat 11. Like I picked it up on sale for $8 or whatever for the complete edition when it had that massive sale and played through it because it's got the single player stuff and I like the story, right? And I like the campaign. I like that stuff and it gives me a lot of the single player. It's not just about the fighting. So I'm interested in where they're going to go with Mortal Kombat 12. But we haven't seen a good Tekken in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Tekken. I like the heaviness of Tekken.
That's a good way of putting it. I've never heard it described that way, but that is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I really like that. Like the power of Tekken. Like it's just like every move, like it's thunder when
impactful. Every move.
Yes, yeah. So I'm looking forward to Tekken to see what they do because Tekken 7 did not I played it a little bit, but never really even played through it the normal way I would on a fighter. So I would probably say Tekken. Street Fighter is looking very, very good, and I'm excited for it to come back to Xbox after it not being on there for Street Fighter
Yeah.
5. And I'm really liking the character animations in this new single player mode they've got. Whether it turns to be good or not, it'll give me something to do as somebody who doesn't get competitive. So that might grab me. But I think right now I'd have to say Tekken 8. Tekken 8 is one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah.
I can't decide either. I don't know. Like
I was waiting for
Street Fighter 6, I feel it could be because like it was so, for me it was so down last generation, right? As a PlayStation exclusive and
right.
all in the way it launched, all that kind of stuff. Like Capcom was in a bad place at that time as well. Like that's that and Tekken, because I want Return to Glory, right?
Right.
Like that's what I had hoped for Gran Turismo originally, that Return to Glory like story. You know what I mean? Let's bring it back to be like when like racing games and like fighting games used to be like the major franchises for like consoles and all this kind of stuff, right? Like they were like some of the most played genres. Right. The shooters weren't even as popular back then. It was racing games and fighting games were more popular than shooters back then. Like like they've fallen off a lot, you know. And it kind of been relegated to, it's a niche genre. It's a niche genre. Fuck, I remember when it was like the genres, you know?
Of course.
And I that's why I was rooting for Need for Speed Unbound so much, right? Like, as well. I feel like it would be amazing for gaming for these games to not only hit, but be huge and do really, really well. So I want to Return to Glory for those two. NetherRealm's been carrying the torch for a long time now, right? And I think they'll continue to do that as well. But hopefully there's a 3 pillars again. That's what I want. I want them all to be equally good.
It's good for the industry, but we do need we need a Soul Calibur to come back. Soul Calibur has got to be the 4th.
The last one was like so weird, man, the way they did some of the stuff. Like,
yeah, I had some fun with it, like the character creation and stuff.
Fighting
I really had
still
fun.
Good, but
yeah, the fighting's still good. Soul Calibur is always gonna have a special place in my heart, but they need to go back and bring back like Yoda and Darth Vader again, or Spawn, or whatever. You know, I thought that was so damn cool. The Yoda and Darth Vader, that was amazing.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like each Soul Calibur game has progressively gotten worse since 3.
Yes, for the most part, you're probably pretty correct.
But I mean, 4 was great still, but like, you know, 3 and 4 were about equal, and then 5 and was the last one 6? I don't remember. It's kind of fallen off.
Soul Calibur,
I think it was
6.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 6. Yeah, it's right over here, so I just looked at it. Soul Calibur 6. But I would like to see that come back because that's my ultimate probably favorite fighting game. Unless you get back into like
fun. Yeah, I mean,
it was so fun. Like the Bloody Roars back in the day. I wish they bring back Bloody Roar.
Yeah, where's all these new random fight stuff like we used to get back in the day? Like, it's amazing. Clay fighters.
Clay fighters, fighting vipers. Remember fighting vipers? Yeah. Bloody Roar. What else did we have? What was the god dang it. What was the dinosaur one that we got? What was the name of that? Where you're fighting as dinosaurs? Remember that?
Yeah, I can't remember. Primal Rage. Primal Rage.
Yes, Primal Rage. That was freaking amazing.
Yeah, we got there was so many cool things. That
Sega
game was
Genesis.
Badass.
Eternal Champions. Eternal Champions on Sega Genesis was
Virtua
amazing.
Fighter, come back.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter, come back. I'd love to see it. Yeah, we had so many cool games, fighting games back in the day. They tried so many different styles. Each one was unique, which was crazy because you would think that after a while it'd get played out. But each one was so good.
Yeah, they were all unique in their own ways.
Yep.
Dark Stalkers, remember?
Oh yeah, of course, love Dark Stalkers.
Bad Juju said Battle Arena to Shinden. Yeah,
that's what sold me on PlayStation 1. That's like everybody's memory of PlayStation 1 if they saw it at launch or if they were at a kiosk was Battle Arena Toshiden because it was 3D and it was something that you had never seen on a home console before. It was incredible. Battle Arena, yes, absolutely sold me on PlayStation.
Marvel versus Capcom games used to be so great, and on the Wii they actually had Tatsunoko versus Capcom,
right?
Which was also fucking great, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated fighting games that came out around that time because not as many people played it.
Sure,
that game was amazing.
Yep. Nope. I would love to see the return. I think fighters belong in this industry. Obviously, there's still a pretty big competitive fighting scene. Obviously, I think Street Fighter already has got $1 million purse fight with this year as well lined up. $2 million total. I think the winner takes 1 million or something like that. So fighting is still big. It just lost its appeal to the mass market, and I would love to see it return because
Yeah.
I think it was fun back in the day. It really was.
What do you
All right,
think it would
Mav.
take it? What
Yeah.
would you think would take
Oh,
it to make it go more a mass
oh,
appeal? Some
I,
original thing online, like what Street Fighter's trying to do, or like, I don't know,
yeah.
some battle royale mode.
God, don't. Uh, that's not the silver bullet for every damn genre.
Give battle pass and battle royale mode will
Yeah,
save these games, man. I'm telling you.
it's the ebb and flow, man, of video game interests, right? It's as generations go. Like it's really
Yeah,
strange how that happens, right? Because fighting games were big before there was first person shooters, right? And then first person shooters came along and kind of took that because then we got a bazillion different first person shooters in all different
yeah,
styles, right? So it's that ebb and flow. I think that though we are seeing signs of a return, I think that if Tekken 8, if Street Fighter 6, if Mortal Kombat 12, if they can all hit in the same year, that's going to be a gigantic push for the fighting genre because people are going to be talking about all of them again, right? So that would be massive, right? I would love to see Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive. We need a new Dead or Alive come back
yeah.
too. So that
Yes.
really could signal the return
Dead or Alive
of fighting games.
6 is
Yes.
amazing, by the way, on Series
Except,
X,
yes.
except for the weird ass way they made the game characters have to be all individually
spend
downloaded,
$200.
all that kind of crazy shit.
Yeah,
If you find it when it's like on sale as a complete package for like a cheap price, if you want a solid fighting game experience,
yes,
buy it. Just know that you're gonna have 150 different things
to download.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, man. We got a $5 super chat earlier from Alvin. Shout out to Alvin. Appreciate you, bro. Said Starfield, even without a release date, is now the #1 wishlisted game on Steam, even in this strong year. But it won't sell without PlayStation.
Oh, and it won't sell without 4 months of marketing.
Yeah,
Bomb.
it's crazy.
I don't know.
You need 4 months of marketing.
You need it. You need it.
4 months.
Listen, we've covered that.
Yeah.
Different. If they didn't need 4 months for Oblivion, don't need 4 months for Starfield. That's for damn sure at this point. Anyways, we are still on the Marchers train, as you all know. Hopefully, we were hoping there was some smoke this week that we were supposed to see the deep dive announcement this week. But obviously it didn't happen. Maybe we get it early next week. I don't know. Really waiting to see. I'm really curious for that, and hopefully soon, so we can line that up. Because, man, oh man, after we get the deep dive and the release date, that's when things get really fun. That's like the next big mark on the calendar. So we're gonna have a fun time breaking down the deep dive for sure. All right. Man, we had Forza Horizon DLC came out today, man. Hey, Playground showed up out of the blue. Well, not out of the blue. They did kind of announce this, but it's been kind of long overdue. We've been missing some more Forza Horizon 5 DLC. Everybody was getting really antsy about it. Some people were hoping for a surprise. Some people called this DLC pretty early on. It kind of fits into the history of Forza Horizon, so it wasn't a surprise for a lot of people. So people were kind of upset about it. Some people thought it was lackluster. But anyways, they came out and announced that they are doing Forza Horizon 5 Rally Adventure. That's right, going back to rally racing, everybody. Rally racing has a special place in my heart. I used to watch a ton of it on ESPN2 back in the day at about midnight at night. They throw on rally racing, and I used to watch it as a car guy. It's a different version of it. Obviously, it's still going to have the Horizon flair, so it's definitely going to be more arcadey than, say, your Colin McRae or your Sega rallies or whatever the case may be that you normally would play. It's going to definitely have the Horizon feel, but they are trying to add some things. So they showed this off today. They've got the UI with your turns and your bumps all marked as you have come to expect in rally racing, showing up on your UI. They've got a chase helicopter now, Mav, where your co-driver is actually sitting. Your co-driver is not in the car with you. Co-driver is actually positioned in the chase helicopter, which is going to follow you through the entire way, which is kind of cool because it kind of gives you different replays and aerial views and that kind of stuff, which they talked about. They're doing this in, I believe it's the Sierra Nueva part of Mexico, which is still very diverse. They showed off dirt, they showed off jungle, they showed off regular road. I believe there was some snow in there as well, of course. So this has got all different kinds of environments that you're going to be rally racing through. New system for enhanced dust trails and deformed sand roads. 10 new cars. They also showed off the customization of the cars, and they're going to have a bunch of rally type, fog lights and all that kind of stuff that you're going to be able to add to your cars as well to make them actually big time rally cars. So, Mav, did this excite you? Or are you gonna be back into Horizon to check out Rally? They got a career mode with this as well, so you're gonna have a full Rally career
Did they
mode.
talk about how long the career mode is, or how in depth it is, or anything like that?
Nope, they did not.
So I wonder, that would be the thing that would get me really excited about this, because honestly, like, I feel like you can almost already make your own rally car in Forza. Like, I mean, you can. It's a big part of the game already, and somewhat now. So. For me, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, it looks cool, and I'm excited, and it's part of the expansions. But, God, I don't want to sound. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm like Mr. Negative.
Hey, we all go through this, Mav. There's just certain things that are like, hey, it's not the best.
Yeah, I mean, I just would like something a little bit more different, because for me, it's like. I think the career thing could be cool, but I need to know more about that, and maybe they talked about it, and because I haven't had a chance to go back and watch that. But that's the thing that's most intriguing. If it's like a linear kind of like experience where you're progressing through. Now, if they just say, if they call it a new career and they just have you like go click on different points on the fucking map and you just go to different races, that's not going to do it for me. But if they actually have a good kind of like progression thing, and you're like a driver trying to rise up the ranks in the rally series and stuff like that, and it's a whole thing, that's more intriguing, but
it's definitely not hardcore rally. So
no, it's not, and that's the other.
You're jumping over planes and everything else. Still, you're doing.
When I said this before, like when the rally rumor was out there, I felt like if they went rally, I think they needed to go like all in on it.
Yeah,
right. Because like there's great rally racing games out there, and those are what they are, and Forza can go and step into that territory. I feel like it's the easiest expansion for them to make because most of it's already in the game. The interesting thing is the sand stuff and like
new deformation
and stuff. I feel like that's cool, right? You can have like maybe better looks to the game with that kind of stuff. Maybe affects the physics a little bit. That could add to the rally experience, right? But for me, the rally races are my least favorite to do in Forza Horizon anyway already. So does this make me really excited? No, because I felt like the rally racing in Forza was not to par with some of the other rally racing games. Whereas I felt like our regular racing in Forza Horizon was really what I was excited about.
They did say you're going to notice a difference in this rally racing versus
other stuff. That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah, they said they're definitely trying to give it that feel of rally racing, so it's definitely going to be different from what we already have.
And some of these other games like Dirt and stuff, you even have like the guy in your ear or whatever, like left turn,
that's what this is. They've got this, they got that. So that's good. Your co-driver's in the helicopter, your chase helicopter, and it's calling down to you, letting you know, and then you see the icon.
Okay, so this is sounding better. Yes. This is sounding better, right?
Yes.
It said 10 cars, right?
Yeah, 10 new cars. Correct.
10 new cars and some more customization. It's all going to come down to that career mode, what it is, right?
Yeah.
They go crazy big with some of these expansions, like the Hot Wheels stuff and things like that. So this is not like, to me, like as much maybe not as much work for them to do something like this. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, but it depends on unless that career mode is really fleshed out, right? I'm gonna play it either way. I already have it, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna dive in and try and have some fun with it and see how it goes. It could be great.
No, it gives me reason to download it again and jump back into it. I certainly will. I did with Hot Wheels, although I didn't play through the entire Hot Wheels expansion. I've never been a big fan of the Hot Wheels expansion,
Yeah,
like everybody else was. I know that's like considered the best that they've done by a lot of
yeah,
people. I had more fun with the Lego expansion than I did with the Hot Wheels expansion. That's just me personally. But this gives me reason to jump back into it. Was I kind of underwhelmed because I would have liked to see them go outside of the box and try a new DLC? Yes, but I also understand why they went and did this DLC. Again, like you said, Matt, it's not necessarily easy because they are putting work into it, but it's something that a big core group of fans of Forza Horizon already know, already love, and it's easy to go back to that again and make a lot of people happy again. And they already know that they know how to do it, and they're just trying to step it up a little bit by increasing some of the rally feel to it, which I think they're going to pull off just fine. So, again, I think it's great. It's been overdue. I actually thought they were going to hold off until E3
yeah,
to announce this, which would have gotten a lot of people kind of scratching their heads. But I
yeah.
thought that was the way they were going. But it's good. They're going to get this out. That's going to open it up. So when Forza Motorsport does get announced, the DLC for Horizon will already be out there. Everybody's going to have a chance to play it. And I think that's part of it, maybe for both of us, Mav, at this point, is we're just kind of waiting on motorsport. Like a lot of people, like we're just kind of in that
Yeah,
mode now.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
I done the Horizon thing. It was freaking fantastic. Forza Horizon 5 was
yeah,
amazing. Obviously, 25 plus million people played it. It was great. It was huge. It was one of the first really current gen looking games that we've gotten. It was, but we've kind of gotten to that point now where we're seeing Forza Motorsport stuff, and we're like, yeah, give me that motorsport. Give me
yeah,
that motorsport. I want to do some sim racing. I want to get some hardcore stuff going on, right?
yeah.
So, I think that's the way it is for a lot of people. But that was a good announcement today. I'm glad they got it out. The
Hmm.
team's super excited. I love listening to Playground talk because all of them are so damn enthusiastic. They love what they do. I love when
Hmm.
teams, you can just feel it. Like I'm not saying that not every dev is so excited about their projects, but Playground, when they're on camera, they're like a bunch of little kids and they're just doing what they love to do and they're building freaking ridiculous racetracks. Like it's so cool. So it was a great showing today. I did watch that today. Um, Sticking with Xbox here, Mav. They are losing a big name.
Ooh,
This
yeah.
came out today.
This stings a little.
Yeah, this is I mean, if you go back and look at the history and you look at the interviews, it was kind of in the works, but obviously you never want it to be that day. So if you guys haven't been paying attention, Bethesda put out an announcement today. Um, Officially, Shinji Mikami. Yes, that Shinji Mikami from Tango Gameworks, one of the most popular devs. Again, devs don't get too popular these days, but this guy, obviously being one of
Talking
the
about the creator of Resident Evil.
fathers of Resident Evil, Dino Crisis. I mean, the list goes on and on. Of course, Evil Within um, is leaving. He is retiring, supposedly. Again, we'll see how this plays out. But as of right now, he is leaving Tango GameWorks within the next few months. The official statement from Bethesda read, "We can confirm that Shinji Mikami has decided to leave Tango GameWorks in the coming months. We thank him for his work as a creative leader and supportive mentor to young developers on the Evil Within franchise, Ghostwire Tokyo, and of course, Hi-Fi Rush. We wish Mikami-san well in the future and are excited by what lies ahead for the talented developers at Tango." Phil then quote tweeted that and said, "Thank you, Mikami-san, Shinji Mikami, for your leadership and your great contributions to the industry. Your guidance and input over the last 2 years has been valuable to me. Looking forward to our continued friendship and looking forward to what lies ahead for Tango Gameworks." So that was Phil's response to this as well. Let me give you thoughts on this, Mav. Again, Shinji, obviously one of the most recognizable devs out there. And again, there's not too many of them, out there, but Shinji was up there just because of what he had created. He was obviously big for Xbox with the purchase of ZeniMax as being their lone Japanese studio over there, and him being the face of that studio was obviously big for them in the East. Having somebody that well known, that well respected, is not something you find
Yeah,
easily.
that's one of the biggest reasons why it's a
Right,
big loss, right?
right, and then you see him bring up young talent like a John Johannes who just launched his first game, Hi-Fi Rush, to huge accolades, to much praise, um, and then turn around and say, "Yeah, my time here is done at the studio that I created 12, 13 years ago." What are your thoughts on this here, man?
Yeah, I know there was people saying that like he put out that energy like months ago that he was thinking about retiring or
Yeah,
whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's the case or not, but
yeah.
I've seen plenty of that around, and maybe that's what it is.
There's an
It
interview where he said he hoped to direct one last game before he moved on
Yeah,
and retired. So,
we'll
and that was
see
a
if
while
he
ago.
shows up as the head of a new studio in like 6 months from now or something, right? That's always tends to happen that way, right?
Yeah,
But besides that, I think I mean more or less like I don't think he's leaving because he hates Xbox or Microsoft or like they can't run their
oh, come
studios
on, that
or
narrative was out there. Come
yeah,
on.
that's stuff that people say anytime anybody leaves a studio for at an Xbox studio. Um besides that though, like a lot of the reasons you just said, it is like a big loss for Xbox, right? Um I feel almost like this about when Drew Murray left and uh left
Yeah,
the initiative.
initiative. Yeah.
Um whenever you I reiterate this all the time. Like when you have these studio heads or people that are really high up in these studios that are really true visionary creators and have proven themselves in the industry by making unique, special games that have become successful and stuff like that. Those are the people I want running these studios, right? Those are the people I want in charge of these teams. That the Tim Schafers from Double Fine,
Yep.
the Todd Howards from Bethesda. You know what I mean? Like people like that. Shinji Mikami.
Josh Sawyer's.
Yeah, Josh Sawyer is one of the guys at Obsidian. There's a few of them
Yeah,
at
there's a
Obsidian,
few of them
right?
over there, but Sawyer's.
And now we got John Johannes as a name at Tango that we
Yep.
can look at and be excited for his next game, right? But whenever you have these guys like that, these legends and people that their names attached to it, gives you excitement, right? Um, anytime you lose somebody like that, it's a big loss because you don't know what energy is going to replace that within the studio, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you have situations all over the place where the people that form these studios or whatever leave, and then sometimes the studios are never the same, right? If you look at things like BioWare, the doctors left, right? Who knows how Rockstar's next game is going to be, but one of the main brothers there has left from
Yeah.
Rockstar. When Infinity Ward lost Jason West and Vince Zampella and those guys, took them a long time to recover to become the premier Call of Duty developer again, right? For a while, Treyarch had kind of taken that mantle, right? We had our Call of Duty Ghost days at from Infinity Ward, right?
I liked Ghost.
Yeah, I know you did. And I mean, there's this all around, like lots of different studios, and it's just hard at times to have the same magic that was created because of the vision of the person that was in charge. Like that's why you have restaurants or stores, whatever. You replace the manager sometimes or the ownership, and the shit goes downhill, right?
Sure.
So is that going to happen here? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they got enough. I think the one thing that Shinji Mikami was doing that was a little special and unique for him was cultivating these people to take that role, right? To understand the business, to understand how to make these big games, how to do this stuff, right? He elevated the developers, right? He didn't just rule over them, right? And I feel like that's the unique thing that gives us the best hope for Tango, right, going forward. And also not just bailing immediately, like say you're leaving within a few months. Getting that energy, you can have this transition process and make sure that everything is how you want it to be before you step away. Massive respect to Shinji Mikami,
Oh yeah,
showing or a lot of the reasons why he is the legend that he is, right? And I gained a lot of respect when he was on there talking about Hi-Fi Rush, and he stood there right next to John Johannes and said, "This is your game," right?
Mhm.
He could have taken credit for it. You know how many heads of studios sit
Mhm.
there and take credit for the people that have been the visionaries beside them,
Of
right?
course, of course.
He wasn't that guy, right? He's sitting there propping these people up and stuff. So it'll be a big loss because special people like that you want to
Yeah,
keep around for as long as possible. This
yeah.
guy's been making games for like 30 something years or something like that. And at some point, you know what I mean? So they just ride off into the sunset and live their lives that they've deserved to create for themselves. And will we see him 6 months to a year from now? Shinji Mikami forms a badass horror game studio.
Right.
Maybe so. And then X person, this person leaves Tango Gameworks and joins blah blah blah.
And
Who
Sony's funding
knows? You know,
studio.
who knows, right? That's the
Yeah,
one danger whenever you have
yeah,
these acquisitions, is because
yeah.
sometimes the things that make these studios special is the people. I mean, that's all the time, right?
Right.
When you're acquiring
Especially
a
here,
studio, you're acquiring the talent,
creatives,
right?
creatives.
That
Yes.
forms that, because otherwise it's just a name,
Right.
right? Like you got to have the special sauce is the people that made the name what it is. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's talent, it's knowing how to get things done, knowing how to deliver, all of these things, right? And losing those kind of guys that are legends for doing those things is always a loss. So he'll be missed, from gaming in general. If he is done,
Yeah.
period, point blank, he will be missed from the gaming world,
Oh yeah.
right? For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he's gone from Microsoft only and Xbox, he'll be missed in that regard as well.
Yeah. Uh, what this means is we're getting old, Math.
Yeah,
That's what this means.
it is.
The people that created the games we grew up on are getting old. It's just kind of a point of fact. Now, again, we are in an industry where age doesn't per se matter as much because you can continue to create and have a creative mind for a very long time. But if you're not feeling it anymore, if you've done what you came to do in this industry, then some of these guys that are getting up there, Todd Howard, how many more games does he have? Tim Schafer, how many more games does he
Yeah,
have? Right? All the guys that you named off,
that
right?
have been making games since the '80s. You know.
Kojima might be on his deathbed still writing. Kojima is one of those rare guys. Todd Howard might be too, right? Todd seems like that guy who just loves what he does. But who knows? Again, when you start getting into the 60s, maybe it's time to step away and go enjoy something else. You never know what comes to this. But Shinji definitely had this in mind. Again, you can go back
Hmm.
and see the interviews where he talked about it. So they obviously were preparing for this moment. I was hoping that this new mentorship role that he also talked about in his interviews, and now being under the umbrella of Xbox with not the pressure that comes along with being, even under ZeniMax, there was a lot of pressure. But now under Xbox, not having that pressure, that maybe this new mentorship role would kind of extend his time at Tango Gameworks and he would stick around a little bit longer and maybe kind of grow and maybe do another Evil Within. But that's obviously not the case. So it is a massive blow. Talent wise, you don't replace creatives like this. This whole industry is built on creatives. And like you said, Mav, it's the people that make this go. You can have the biggest name in the world as far as the studio goes, but if you don't have the people behind it, it can mean nothing anymore. We've seen that through the years. Studios that were gigantic fall apart as people left and just they could not replicate what they were trying to do. I mean, again, look at BioWare. BioWare is a shell of the former self that it once was, right? And that's because the creatives walked out of there. The name is still there, but we have a lot we've got a lot to kind of look at when it comes to the next BioWare games and see if they can pick up that mantle again because some of the stuff that's come out hasn't been the greatest like it used to be. So this is a big loss. It's a big loss for Microsoft, especially in the East, where they're trying to gain a foothold, where they're trying to improve over there. Shinji was a big name to have as a head of one of your studios for bringing in talent. Not to say whoever takes over is not going to do a good job. I'm not going to say that because we don't know. but Shinji, just on name alone, was respected and would bring people in talent wise. So it is a big loss to Microsoft. And whatever Shinji's going to do, again, nothing but mad respect for the man. The man earned his place in an industry that doesn't like rock stars. To quote Cliffy B, who had a great interview with Iron Lords, they don't want rock stars out of their devs. They don't. That's why we know so few of the devs that make these games, because we never see them, we never hear from them, because the industry doesn't like that. So when you got somebody like Shinji, who is quiet, who is by far not a rock star, but just by the quality of his work alone, gained the respect to become a household name in a lot of people that follow this industry's brains, that says everything you need to know about this man. So Shinji, nothing but respect. Again, obviously it shows up in John Johannes and Hi-Fi Rush. It showed up in the younger team that was working on Tokyo Ghostwire. He's left a legacy, and hopefully he's put the right people in the positions to take Tango Gameworks forward into the future. If he is setting off into the sunset, again, hats off to you, Shinji. Much love, and I hope you have a great rest of your life and peaceful. Maybe he does some consulting for people. I could see, a lot of people move into those roles too, consulting on stuff. If you go start a new studio, because he has talked about a sci-fi game he's always wanted to make, Mav, in past interviews, there was a sci-fi game that he had. If he does, hey, you've earned it, Shinji. I'm not going to hold anything against you, man. Okay, you go do what you want to do. If it takes creating another studio or somebody else funding it, go do it, man. You've earned it. Do what you want to do. So, but it is going to be a big loss. But it's something at least Microsoft was expecting this time. This is not another situation like people always like to create out of, Microsoft forcing people out of the industry because they don't want to work for I guarantee that had nothing to do with this case at all. This is something that Shinji was looking forward to at some point. So, but big loss overall.
We'll see if he shows up again.
Yeah, we'll see if he shows up again. Again, it wouldn't shock me. Creatives being creatives.
Is there something he's finishing for the next few months? I put out there that maybe Ghostwire Tokyo, he wants to oversee the launch on Xbox, and maybe they've been adding some extra things to that. Potentially.
Yeah, it's potentially. Let me throw this out at Matt. Now that you brought that up, you reminded me real quick. I was going to wrap this back around to you, because we did talk about this on World of Gaming today with Box and Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Dutch throughout, maybe a few months. That's around E3 time. What if he's there to announce the teaser for Evil Within 3? Maybe behind the scenes, he's had a small team been developing Evil Within 3. Now that Tokyo Ghostwire is out the door, now that Hi-Fi is out the door, maybe it's all hands on deck for Evil Within 3, but he built kind of the base of it, and he's still gonna have his name on that game, and he's gonna be there to announce as his final game before he steps away. Evil Within 3, to see his last baby at least teased to the world before he walks away. What do you think?
It's possible. Yeah. I found the next in a few months thing intriguing. So we don't know if that means, like April, May, June, July. Like it would. Like I'm thinking it probably means by E3, like you guys were talking about earlier today. Yeah. And it's either got to do with just what I said, potentially with the Ghostwire thing, but that would only be a month away. And so if you're actually talking about a few months, that you could add transition period to that potentially, just making sure everything's in the right place, making sure you're leaving the studio in a good place, and it could be that much of a class act, right?
Yeah.
And that would also lead to more things. He's not in a rush to get out. He's just trying to leave on the right way, in the right way, right?
Yep.
Or it could be because they are going to have that one last final send off, right? Mm-hmm. With another announcement, and he could be like, I show up at E3. Hi, it's me, Shinji Mikami. Yes, as you've heard, I am retiring, and I'm no longer going to be at Tango Gameworks. I'm introducing Mr. Blah, 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 or Mrs. Blah, blah, blah as the lead designer on Evil Within 3 or whatever other game they make. And we've been working on it for over a year now. The groundwork is laid. This team's going to do an amazing job, and look forward to getting to play it in the future or something. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Right.
That'd be awesome. We'll see.
Yeah.
This E3 is going to be so unpredictable for Xbox.
Yeah. Wait until we start getting closer and we get in our prediction shows. It's going to be
Yeah.
so crazy all over the place, bro. We have no idea.
Especially if Starfield actually hits before E3 like it should.
Yes.
Because then it's even like, because if not, then you can chalk up 15 minutes to Starfield probably, right? But but it should hit before then, right?
Right.
And if that's the case, this E3 is going to be wild, bro. Absolutely wild. Because they have so much they can announce.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing, is new games. New game announcements.
All right. So where are we going next here, man? Now we're starting to get into the smaller stuff here. Let's just cover ABK for a short period here. Just a quick kind of wrap up to our Tuesday show. Now that kind of everything's dust settled, we had all the crazy articles. We had Lulu out here whipping everybody up into a frenzy, and all that kind of stuff. Again, if you guys want a full breakdown from me and Mav about our thoughts on what happened this week with ABK, with the presser from Brad Smith, from the deals for with NVIDIA, I should say, and Nintendo, and all that good stuff, you can go back and watch our PM and the PM Extra that we did on Tuesday, where we kind of broke that down for about an hour and a half or so. But let's kind of do a quick wrap up here, Mav. Dust is kind of settled. We got news today that the CMA is scheduled to hold hearings next week, kind of similar to what the EU just did, the EC that happened this week. They are going to hold those next week, supposedly. We know that their decision and the EC's decision should be coming down sometime, before the end of March or sometime within April. We should have answers from both of these. Where are you at with this now that everything's kind of settled out? You locked in that this deal's going through? Do you think the CMA still is going to push back here? That they're going to look for even bigger moves from Xbox to give them remedies that maybe do include structural stuff, which we heard Brad Smith say, just at least of divesting themselves of Call of Duty there's no possible way. What do you think now at this point? And do you think we hear anything new during the CMA proceedings that we didn't get here? Do you think Microsoft has any other deals they could potentially work out that you've thought about? What do you think here,
man? CMA, I feel like they're the last, they're a wild card, right?
Right.
So you don't they kind of just beat to their own drum, it seems like, and make the decisions that they feel like they're have the right to make based on whatever evidence was presented to them. And they've only been listening to Sony, it seems like, for the most part. So they're going to be coming to this table parroting Sony again, right? Even despite all the evidence and everything that's been there against them. But when they left the door open for other remedies, right, was like a lot of people said, it was very interesting. So if the EC, which their timetables are before the CMA, right?
Correct.
I think it a few weeks at least on each step or something, right? So if the EC's concessions get accepted upon, I believe that's what Microsoft is going to propose eventually as the final offer to the CMA. The CMA at that point, I would guess, would say, no, that's not sufficient enough for us. And they're going to try and act extra special and try and get something else added on to that. Right?
Okay.
To seem like they're the biggest, most brutal regulatory force in the world. I don't know. This is how it seems like they want to be portrayed. Right. And the question is what else can they get? What else could because I don't feel like they want to fight this to the point of blocking it all the way, because there's other avenues that Microsoft can go still to continue fighting, and I don't feel like they want to go down that path probably. And so, especially with the EC's at that point approval, right? Now, this is all hypothetical situations, right? It's speculation. So at that point, I believe that CMA is trying to figure out what the most possible thing they can get without going that far. And that's where they're going to meet in the middle somewhere with Microsoft. That's not structural. That's not just the remedies that were accepted with the EC, but somewhere in between, an extra carrot, somewhat, to throw to Sony gamers in the UK, right? Like, um, something with PlayStation in the cloud or something. Who knows exactly what? I feel like whatever it is, the disappointing thing is the UK consumers will actually probably suffer because of whatever that CMA thing is that they force upon there, right? And when they actually think they're doing them a service, that'll actually be a disservice. You're on mute, by the way, bro.
Oh, of course I am.
That's
Why
my
wouldn't I be?
prediction.
That's your prediction. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. For the most part, I think that the CMA is the sticky one here, and I think that, I mean, I'm not saying anything new. CMA just looks at everything differently. I mean, they all kind of do. The CMA is way outside, and of course, the FTC is, because they're not looking at things from the law standpoint. But the CMA is definitely looking at it from a totally different perspective. However, since the CMA announced, kind of their initial thoughts and their structural remedies which were obviously ridiculous, that they offered up as potential, remedies for this, they also kind of whittled down their complaints, and the Nvidia deal took out their biggest one, or one of their biggest ones, in the cloud gaming sphere, right? And I think now that Microsoft has made these chess moves this week to position themselves and to position Sony really as the only outlier. Again, Google's still there complaining, but Google doesn't have a whole lot to stand on since they dropped out of the cloud gaming business. I don't know where their standing is outside of the fact they know that Microsoft is coming for the mobile app market next, which is why Google is fighting this too. But really, Sony is alone on this island right now, and everybody else is happy. Everybody else is happy to accept what Microsoft is giving them in deals, and or just plain, hey, this is fine for the industry. There's no problem here. We're not going to have any issues. Uh, you know, sure, there's risks in any deal when it comes to competition, but at the end of the day, looking at the industry as a whole, there's nothing that we can stand on and say we absolutely are against this deal. Sony's the only one out there doing that. And eventually, even these regulatory bodies, now that Microsoft has knocked off a lot of the concerns when it came to the cloud gaming, as ridiculous as we all believe that was, because the cloud gaming market is so unknown right now. It's in its infancy. There's no way to know how this is going to, if cloud even ever becomes a thing. We don't know that, but since the CMA made a big deal out of it, the EC made a big deal out of it, Microsoft said, fine, the main competitor to us right now, which is NVIDIA, the next closest guy, we're going to cut them a deal. And we're not just going to give them Activision Blizzard games, not just going to give them Call of Duty. We're going to give them our Xbox PC games as well. Like, that's how much we don't care about that. That's how little we're thinking about foreclosing on that sector. We're going to give the main competitor, right, basically our whole kit and caboodle. There you go. Have it. I think that really does at this point then limit the CMA from having a whole lot to stand on to say, hey, this is about our customers. Microsoft's pretty much wiped a lot of that out. Now it's just basically the CMA going, no, we're just defending Sony at this point. We're just defending Sony's position. We're not actually even thinking about our consumers right now. We're thinking about Jim Ryan and Sony. And I think at that point, the CMA has to take what they can get. They have to be happy with the concessions. Of course, they could just block it because they feel like they're just going to block it. And again, from there, what that does, don't know, because that's uncharted territory. Again, if the EC approves it and the CMA blocks it, there's been a lot of people pointing out that Microsoft has some ways around the CMA, that it might not be good for the consumers over there in the UK, but Microsoft's already got such a small foothold in the UK as it is. Like, let their consumers get pissed off and yell at the politicians and yell at the CMA over there because they're kind of knocked out of having Call of Duty on Game Pass or whatever the case may be. So I think that this is a good, strong position as long as they can get the EC to approve it. And they're, the rumblings are that the EC is much more favorable to this deal than it was when it originally started. And so hopefully we get some word. I just looked it up just to be sure. The decision deadline for the EC is like around April the 11th, I believe. And for the CMA, it's like April the 26th or 27th. So we'll have word on this. And I think if the EC does come out first and say, yep, we're going to accept these remedies, we're going to obviously watch you very closely. Don't get any funny ideas, Microsoft, but we won all this. And look, everybody, Sony got to cut a deal with these guys because everybody else is cutting deals. Just get the deal done and move on. If that happens, I think the CMA is much more pressured to, even if they want to stand out, that they get the deal done at the end of the day. And then the FTC is dead in the water. FTC's got nothing to stand on. So I think by April, again, as we talked about, we'll know this deal's going through. I thought it was a great chess move, multiple chess moves this week to really knock a lot of the pieces off of the table for a lot of these regulatory bodies and say, look, again, you said you can't trust us at our word. Fine. We'll just keep showing you guys. We have no intentions here. We have no ill intentions towards the industry. This is what we're doing. And so here, everybody have a deal. You get a deal. You get a deal. Everybody gets a deal. Sony, you want a deal? I got it right here. As Mr. Smith held up the actual contract and said, come sign it. So I think that's where they're at. So ABK deals moving forward. Again, nothing's for sure. Nothing's known here because it's a lot of unknowns. It's still humans that make these decisions at the end of the day. But I think we're getting closer and closer to kind of a final say and really understand where everything's kind of standing here in the next month and a half. So watch out for that. We'll be talking more about that as that comes up for sure. All right, Mavo, what do we got here? What do we got? Where do you want to go? You got anything you want to talk about?
I was trying to read what Calorie is just saying in the chat.
Calorie.
Did you see they confirmed no Xbox for Baldur's Gate 3 launch per tweet from Jez? I just saw that like it was a screenshot, like a snapshot from their website. The same thing I saw earlier today as well. That was already posted in the community blog. I will say this. The fact that they have not confirmed yet, or the amount of people asking about it out there, leads me to think that they can't say something about it.
Right.
Because if you have this many people, because if you go down their announcements, it's like Xbox, where's Xbox? Like, you would think they would want to address that if they were allowed to.
Or why wouldn't they just use the language that's known? Console launch exclusive.
Right. So therefore, my mind is thinking right now they are not allowed to address that.
Right.
Therefore, maybe there's still hope, right? Because otherwise, they could have just come out and said PS5 is the only console that will be available at launch.
Right.
Right. Without they could still say that without mentioning the words Xbox.
Correct.
Right. There's something they could do to address the amount of questions being asked, right? Mm-hmm. And they have not said anything, which means maybe there will be another announcement in the future. So that's my hope.
Yeah,
that's my
crossing fingers. Again, we're looking for any hope right now.
Yeah,
because I do want to see this come to Xbox. Again, journalists outside of Jez, go do your jobs. Go hit them up. Go put the pressure on. Again, how long did it take you guys to find out supposedly about Stalker 2's timed exclusivity before the whole thing over there happened and it delayed everything? The minute that Stalker 2 was announced, you guys were digging in and came up with the idea that there was a 3-month exclusivity window, right? So you guys go do your jobs and come up with some type of window or just say, hey, it looks like they just can't talk about it right now. Yeah. Come on, go do that. Hogwarts Legacy, 12 million sold in 2 weeks, Mav. Avalanche came out this week. IGN put out a story that Avalanche Studio says there are no current plans to release additional content for Hogwarts Legacy. In WB's position, that's not surprising. Do you think that changes now with these sales? Do you think they move to do DLC, or do you think they just start up number 2
I think right away? Start up number 2.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe they could decide to do an expansion in between releases to keep that cash cow going. So maybe an expansion and then a sequel. That would be, or just a sequel. But I think it's going to get a sequel now.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. They'd be
Um,
dumb not to.
and maybe set in a different time period in Hogwarts. Like the
Mhm.
thing that they do that they could do so much with this completely unique stories, right?
Right.
Individualized for this. Put the same devs on it, please, right?
Mhm.
They deserve to continue this franchise and the success that they've created. Um, I feel like they're getting really invested now because apparently today also
Oh, yes. I
they
forgot to
they
mention this. Go ahead.
announced that
Yes.
there's going to be a HBO show, a
Yep.
Hogwarts Legacy HBO show,
Yep.
which is a big deal. So I feel like they're gonna keep doubling down on this, and yeah, I don't know like what kind of extra content they can make besides like a bigger expansion.
Right.
Um,
It would
and
have to
then
be story. I would imagine.
yeah, so it has to be story based, right?
Yep.
And then maybe do the a sequel. Question
Right.
is, how long will it take them to do? They've already got
Right.
all the tech now built and everything, so it should be easier to make the second game. So maybe 3 years from now, 4 years
Yeah.
from now,
Maybe
we
3 years.
see another
Yeah.
Hogwarts game.
It's gonna
Very
take a while to
possible.
get the. It's gonna take a while to get the TV series up too. So
Yeah,
it would come out kind of at the same
hand in
time
hand.
or
Yeah,
close. Yeah. Yeah. It would
essentially.
look. It would be great. 12 million in 2 weeks, brother. That's ridiculous. That's a lot sold in 2 weeks. I mean, we're talking about easy 20 million by the end of the year, potentially 30 million by the end of the year. Again, there's a lot of games coming out this year, which could be a detriment, but this game is so special that I think people are going to continue to buy it, especially when it starts getting a sale price, when it starts hitting that dip. I think that's if they aren't working on DLC right now, of course, they still have to get last gen version out, Mav. Don't forget that, right? The last
Yeah,
gen version is still coming, supposedly. This is current gen sales and PC sales. 12 million in 2 weeks without the last gen. You can expect a huge uptick when that last gen hits as well, because there are still a lot of people out there rocking the older consoles, and they're going to want to hop on this. I don't know how well it's going to perform. I don't know what it's going to look like, but the fact is, it's still coming. But if I was WB, I would ask this team if they have ideas, if they have content that they cut or that they thought they didn't have time for. Again, as Benji Sales put out, that those sales numbers means it's grossed $850 million. This is going to be $1 billion franchise quicker than we can think about. So you have to get on something, whether it's the sequel or whether you can find a way to expand the story and get something out next year for an expansion. You do that. You got to capitalize on this stuff. It's
yeah.
too big not to. Even if you weren't expecting this, now that it's here, you got to do it. So get on it for sure, Avalanche. One way or the other, do it. What else we got here? What else we got here? Mav. We got a bunch of small stuff here. Hey, look at it. Listen, this is kind of big news this week, Mav. We know Coalition is moving to Gears, right? They're moving full time to Gears. We got the word that they canceled their smaller project, maybe canceled 2 projects.
Yeah.
We had talked about that a few weeks ago. Came out this week that Gears of War 2 writer and co-director
Oh yeah.
Joshua Ortega, and he had moved on. He had worked on Ghost of Tsushima. He had worked on Spider-Man. He had worked on Star Wars. Talk about a talented dude, and created what most people had a huge hand in creating the story behind what most people feel is the best Gears, which is Gears 2, is coming back to the Coalition. And obviously he put out some tweets basically confirming that, because he was talking Gears all week. He got everybody excited. He was asking people, should we call it Gears 6 or do we go back to Gears of War 6?
Right.
And happily, I saw most people saying, bring back Gears of War. Don't just call it Gears anymore. Bring back Gears of War 6. But this is a guy who was there at the prime of Gears, Mav. The darkness, the more horror aspect, the deep writing, of course. And again, any of you that like 4 and 5, I'm not. Again, you like 4 and 5, I'm happy for you. Again, for me, they're just meh. But the chance to come back and end this second trilogy with Gears of War 6 with one of the original writers get you excited here, Mav? What do you think about it?
It actually did. It had me a little bit more hype, for Gears going forward. Obviously Rod's gone.
He's
Yes.
working on Diablo now over there for Blizzard. And it was kind of be like, well, they got all these other projects now. I was actually kind of hoping they would do some of that stuff and then get back
Yep.
to Gears.
Yep.
But seeing this move now, it
Yes.
has me a little bit more excited for Gears 6,
Mhm.
right? And maybe they can go full fledged back into what made Gears special for me originally, right?
Right.
And I hope that's the case because it could be
Yep.
absolutely awesome. Just like we cover when people leave studios,
Yes.
got to cover when big names and great creators join studios.
Come back.
And
Yes.
it's not. Why did he choose to come work for Xbox? Is it because Xbox is bad? No, it's because
No.
he wanted to go there and work for him, right? So he wanted to go
Yep.
get and work on this franchise, and I think it's a good move, dude. Because
Yeah.
anytime you see a franchise that's known and loved, and you bring back some of the original talent to help bring that back, is a positive, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what they
Come up
do with it, what they do with it, what they come up with. I feel like they've heard a lot of that, like you were talking about, and I feel like they're gonna go this next Gears. Maybe there's a reason they moved on from those other projects because they really want to go big on this thing, right?
Yes.
And maybe this will be a special game.
Mhm.
Who knows when we'll get it? It seems like it's still early on, right? In development, probably.
Oh yeah.
But
I think Grubb said that within the past year they've gone to full production on it.
Right.
So Yep.
so adding this person early on in the process is a good thing. And when will we see it? Who knows? Could be 2025, 2026, 2020, late 2024 would be the absolute earliest,
yeah.
I would think. I mean,
Yes.
it's got to be after that probably. So that'll be a ways off, and it's given that distance that I kind of wanted from 5 by that time anyway,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I'm pumped for that move, man. I think it's a good move.
And the first game from Coalition on Unreal 5, they're going to pull out all the bells and whistles. They're going to set the bar extremely high because they have that pride in them as
Yeah.
being
They wanna
known
show
as the
off.
masters of Unreal. Correct. I hope that maybe Hivebusters and the story, how much praise it got, the characters in Hivebusters, and the praise that it got from the original fan base, fans of the original trilogy, came out and said, listen, this felt more like the original Gears. This is what we love. This is what we want. Maybe they all heard that, Mav, and maybe they went out to Josh and said, hey, Josh, you want to come back? You got some ideas how we can take Gears of War 6? And Josh was like, heck yeah, let's get back into it. Maybe he'll put the kids through hell, which would be interesting, right? Bring them down deep and dark and get nasty with the kids and kind of give them an edge that I thought was missing from Marcus and the old crew. That edge just wasn't there with the kids. I didn't think personally. Again,
Yeah.
if you have different thoughts on it, that's fine. It's just me. I'm an old guy, so a lot of it's nostalgia. I don't care. That's just who I am. But maybe Josh has got an idea to put the kids through hell and back again, and kind of get that dirty, grimy Gears feeling back again.
When is the Gears show supposed to hit?
I don't know because there's an animation and there's a live action.
Right.
And I don't know when those two are planned. I don't know if we've gotten dates on those at all.
I forget when they announced them what they talked about it, but like there's a lot of stuff like that going on with Xbox too. You got the Fallout series.
Yep.
People are getting hyped about that.
Yep.
You got the Gears going on as well.
Something we talked about, man.
Yeah.
They need to use this. And again, Halo. I know you enjoyed it. I know some people did enjoy it, but is it all that it could have been had they taken a different tact with it? Well, I guess we'll never know. But you see something like The Last of Us that holds true to the games, does break away from time to time, but core is there in the games, and obviously celebrates the games. Maybe it could have been different, but they've got a lot of IP, Mav, now. Microsoft does, that they should take that route to that transmedia. So hopefully Fallout.
I think it's a great marketing thing too. Like,
yes.
I mean,
huge. You saw what did the sales go up for The Last of Us? Like 200%?
Yeah,
something ridiculous.
What happened with Edge Runners to Cyberpunk?
Yes, Cyberpunk.
I mean, all these different things. Like,
like Last of Us is one of the most talked about. The show is one of the most talked about things right now. Every week it gets huge conversation, whether you like it or hate it. Right? It seems universally praised by
Yeah.
critics and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And people that aren't even fans with the game love the show.
Right.
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 Even love it or hate it, Halo show when it came out was widely talked about. Paramount said it was like massive success for them.
Yeah, it was one of their biggest show ever, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's crazy success for them, right? They, then you have other stuff just starting to pop up like that, and it's brings that brand awareness. Like, oh, what is this from? Oh, this is a video based on a video game. Cool, I like the show, right? Maybe I'll check out the next game that comes out from them. Or whatever,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just stuff like that can kind of intrigue people.
Gears has the potential too.
This
doesn't have to be the last Gears. Even if the coalition has other ideas, they can break away from this main storyline because that universe is expanded. That universe has potential to go elsewhere. And if the anime and the live action can pull off and hit, that means Gears going to have a new hype train. Which maybe it hasn't seen in a while, that everybody gets back into Gears again. And if they nail Gears of War 6, with Ortega coming back and writing for it, then the sky's the limit to break off with Gears and go into different directions and expand that universe again. Like we talk about potentially Halo, happening to Halo. It's time. These IPs, Gears was so iconic. Listening to Cliffy talk about it with Iron Lords, like you just can't replicate that time again that made it as big as it was. However, the IP still has that recognition and still has that potential built within it. And if you expand that out with TV shows, with anime, listen, there's no telling what we could see out of the Gears of War franchise again. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see where this goes. EA Mav announced today, EA DICE confirmed they're joining with Ridgeline to create the single player Battlefield. So you and I being Battlefield apologists, you and I being Battlefield defenders, you and I being on the front lines when everybody was ganging up on Battlefield. This is good to see. We knew Zampella was taking over the entire franchise now, but obviously DICE was still going to be involved, but Zampella's overseeing it. Obviously, they heard the word, Mav, that a lot of people wanted a campaign. So they are going back to getting a single player experience for Battlefield in play. Now, according to reports, and this comes from Insider Gaming, shout out to Tom Henderson, one of the best in the biz. Now, according to reports, EA DICE is fleshing out a new single player focused team that will work hand in hand with Seattle-based Ridgeline Games to create an entirely new campaign-driven experience for the Battlefield franchises. For a while, it seemed as though EA DICE had effectively laid to rest the Battlefield franchise, given how awful a reception Battlefield 2042 received in 2021. There were no meaningful updates or changes made for quite a while, but now it seems the game is both picking up pace and drawing in more players than ever before. Recently, a development video was leaked showcasing some of the elements of the fourth season of Battlefield 2042. Now it has been suggested that EA DICE intends to propel Battlefield back into the limelight with a refreshed effort to create an all-new single-player experience. It won't be working on the project alone. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, EA DICE will be backing up Ridgeline Games, the Seattle-based studio that was confirmed to be working on a new Battlefield experience last year. There's also work being carried out on the Battlefield franchise by Ripple Effect and Industrial Toys, all of which are EA-backed studios, so it's certainly all hands on deck at present. That's the theme that was mirrored in a statement provided by EA DICE's general manager, Rebecca Kutaz. Quote, our decision to build out our single-player team here at DICE is a proactive approach that arms our global teams with the resources they need early on as we look ahead to the next Battlefield experience. Now we are able to expand opportunities and benefit from new talent that will help Ridgeline write the next chapter for the franchise. Excited, Mav? Excited?
All faith in Zampella.
Yes, 100%.
Call of Duty needs that competition, right?
Yes.
Battlefield's never had the numbers that Call of Duty does, but they've tried to bring it. They try.
And this last launch was a bit of a disaster for them, right?
Understatement. Understatement.
But you know, all things can be redeemed.
Yes.
Battlefield is too big of a name to just disappear, right? And that's where people say Halo's gonna be dead and all that stuff. It's not gonna die, you know. Maybe different in the future or whatever. Battlefield, same. And maybe they take that next step. You know, maybe they do more. Maybe they do different a little bit, right? So it kind of sounds like what this is. I'm hoping get that bad company energy going there with the Battlefield universe, bro. Let's go.
Yep. Let's go.
You know, like,
let's go.
Even last generation, even though you had some hits and some misses, like I didn't mind that. You like had games like Hardline come out,
Yeah.
you know. You know, they had a little bit too much of the like World War One stuff and things like that last gen. But you know, like you had different takes and different things that are trying unique things, and I feel like you can get back to that and but go big on it, you know. And we'll see what happens with this next one. I never felt like Battlefield had to have a campaign personally.
No, neither did I.
I feel like the game was better than a lot of people made it out to be.
Yep. We both agree there.
I feel like it's a good game still today.
Oh yeah.
And it's worthy of playing, especially with the prices you can get it for, like crazy cheap.
Yeah.
Crazy it's in Game Pass now, isn't it? It's an Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate now too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, literally, like if you want to have a good, fun multiplayer experience, you can go hop into Battlefield.
Yep. Class system is back now. They got everything.
Damn awesome. You know.
Yep.
So
they worked hard on the maps.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And I feel like this game's gonna have some more legs to it, at least, because you know the amount of effort they put into it post launch, which we always said was gonna happen.
Of course.
Well, we got worried at first because they talked when they talked about like move on and to the other things and stuff like that, you know. But I got faith now, man. You know, like Zampella was put in charge after this of the whole Battlefield franchise, right?
Yep.
And if like we talked about, great visionaries, great creators, people that you want to be in charge of things.
Yep.
He's one of those.
Correct.
And maybe the most accomplished first person shooter creator ever.
Right.
You talk about going from creating Medal of Honor, which was was the shit way back in the day. People forget that.
Yes, it was.
Then going to create Call of Duty, which we all know what happened with that.
Right.
To move on, to then go to form another studio, to go create Titanfall, which maybe never took off sales-wise like it could have, but to a lot of people is one of the best first-person shooters of all time.
Yep.
Then to move on to make Apex Legends, which is another huge, massive success and a different play style than all of the other games combined that we just talked about as well. Then you want to say, well, what else can they do? Well, they can also go and they can make a game like Jedi Survivor, a Souls-like Star Wars game, right? Now they're going to have, or Jedi Fallen Order. Now they're going to have Jedi Survivor, right?
Yeah,
and now put in charge of Battlefield, and now news like this happening.
Right.
In Zampella, we trust. That's all I got to say about
this. Speaking of which, did you see that picture that Ed Boon put out for his birthday?
No.
And he said, you didn't? Oh, he said one good thing about traveling on your birthday is the friends that you can hang out with. And
oh no, I saw that. I'm sorry.
You saw that?
Yeah, so Keeley and
Keeley. Well, I wasn't going to mention Keeley, but it was Ed Boon,
yeah,
Vince Zampella, and Todd Howard. Talk about a
and then it was
trio.
Some other guy too there.
Yeah, it was some other guy too. But those three. That is a trio. I want to be there.
Can they go form a studio together? Actually, I wouldn't even want that because I want each individual creations.
3 of the biggest devs, all different genres within this industry at the same table. That's a table I want to be at.
Master.
Yeah. Yep.
You got your first person shooter, and you got your RPG. Like,
oh my god. the brains between those three and the creative power.
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about these legends, these guys you want in charge that have these track records. Those are the guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's them. You know.
Yep.
It's always a loss when you lose somebody like that.
Oh, it is. It's a huge
the
loss.
chat. One thing I wanted to bring it right back around because the chat. Yeah. Well, let me get to these super chats real quick because I've been sitting on these.
Sit on
them. Chris Jones hit us earlier with the $5 super chat. Said, "Dead or alive? I knew Pong wanted some beach volleyball." Talking about fighting games, and we were talking about Dead or Alive. So how about what's the beach volleyball?
Extreme volleyball.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I've said that it's the greatest volleyball game ever made, and they should bring it back immediately. It's still going. It's like some games as a service now over there that they continue to add to. They just need a standalone to come back like instantly.
Yeah. Chris Jones also with a $5 super chat said, "I think Todd leaves after Elder Scrolls 6 and Phil passes his job to Sarah in around 5 years after he sets her up good. I'd love for Sarah next after Phil." And then another $2 super chat from Chris Jones says, "Hope you are staying safe with the snow, Pong." Yeah, appreciate you, Chris.
Staying indoors. Thanks, Chris.
For all those. The one I wanted to touch on, come back around to. I saw some people talking about this in the chat earlier when we were discussing Shinji Mikami leaving. And people were asking, well, when are we going to see these other news from some of these other big-time guys from the Xbox side as well? Because there's several of them. You got your Tim Schafers. You know, you have Todd Howard. You know, you can count Pete Hines in that as well, right? And then you got... Phil Spencer
Sawyer
himself, right?
Phil Spencer, Sawyer from Obsidian.
Fergus Urquhart, I forget how to say the name exactly from Obsidian, and then you have the In Exile guys. There's a couple of them there that are huge, you know, infamous devs, right? When are we going to see primarily? Because I feel like Phil Spencer's had a long run already, longer than most have with being a gaming exec, right?
Correct.
Usually the gaming execs, with the exception of maybe Nintendo's had some really long running ones in the past, right? But Microsoft has not had one in charge for like super long periods of time in the past. You know, you had your Matrick, you had your Phil Harrison, you had your Robbie Bach, you know. Then you had, I know I'm missing like one in there too. Was Peter Molyneux? No, he was never in that role.
Nope.
Not Peter Molyneux. What the fuck? Peter Moore. Peter Moore. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't remember what Peter Moore's role was exactly.
He was. Wasn't he head of Xbox?
He might have been.
Yeah, he was.
I can't remember exactly.
He was head
so
of
you've had basically you've had several, right?
Yeah.
And Phil's held this since what 2013 or 2014 now. Around that time is when he was named head of Xbox after Matrick shit the bed and left. And now we're sitting here like 10 years later, pretty much from when he kind of was starting to take over the reins. It's a long. That's a long run, right?
Yep.
We know Todd Howard's been at Bethesda since the 90s, some point, right? So he's had a long run too. But I don't think he leaves until at least Elder Scrolls 6 is out. Yeah, like he's gonna foresee that through. I don't even know if he leaves after that.
Fallout.
Like
I said after Fallout.
Yeah, I mean that's you're talking about another 10 years probably of Todd.
At least.
Right.
At least.
So I feel like that's the least worry. But like as far as Phil Spencer goes, then when do you foresee that shift? Or maybe he doesn't because he's been promoted, right?
He's been promoted. It's funny because we just had this conversation at World of Gaming. This came up at World of Gaming too. When does Phil leave? My prediction today was Phil's been in this position longer than most execs, and Boxenberger brought that up and said it's extensive for how long he's been there in this role. Even with the promotion, it's still now he's the head of Microsoft Gaming, but overall it's kind of the same role. At the end of the day, I said personally for me, he's been at this role longer than most people because the turnaround was a much bigger project than most of the time when these guys take over a position. Like Phil's role was to recreate Xbox, to rebuild it all over again from basically scratch. Okay, sure, it still existed. Sure, there was some things in place, but what he did was a massive turnaround, and it's still not done. Right, they're still not where his vision originally wanted it to be. So my guess was, is that he he takes Microsoft gaming to the next generation, whenever that happens. He gets the launch of the next generation. By that point, again, we're assuming the ABK deal goes through. They're integrated into Microsoft, which is going to take 2 to 3 years potentially with that big of a mass of people. It's going to take 2 to 3 years for them to get comfortably in. He takes them, that stabilizes things. Hopefully, Game Pass growth then is consistent. He's got that down. First party is producing on a consistent basis. He's had some years of just constant that pacing that we want from the first party. That roadmap is stabilized. He launches the next generation and then gets promoted into an even bigger, kind of higher up role within Microsoft Corp, and that's his legacy, right? And then he's a part of the Microsoft Corp, the big guys. Hands off, passes the torch to Sarah Bond or whoever else it's going to be, and steps away from Xbox and the gaming division and says, my legacy's here, done. I did what I came to do, and this is it. Now, Boxenberger said that he thought that was too long. He thinks mid-gen here. He thinks mid-gen, he could see Phil leaving at that point after the ABK deal is done. 1 to 2 years of integration, and then Phil steps away at that point. What do you think?
It's an interesting thing because I feel like the role he stepped into
Yeah.
was a much smaller role than he has created now. Because you look at the size of the ecosystem for Xbox now, has transformed exponentially.
Correct.
Since he took over. Yes. I feel like when he took over, Xbox was still this thing within Microsoft that they were doing and had a lot of passionate people there. And they've kind of tried this, they tried that, they tried this, had some successes, some failures. And, what are they going to do in the future? Phil steps in as one of the most passionate about what Xbox is and can be. He takes over as head of Xbox, grows it, evolves it, changes it into a completely different animal than it ever was before.
Right.
Creating this monster within Microsoft to the point that Microsoft makes their biggest acquisition in company history.
Correct.
That will fall under his umbrella. Within Microsoft, hence giving him the promotion also as CEO of Microsoft Gaming, a brand new title as well, which will branch at that point across mobile. It will branch across the cloud, PC, gaming subscription services like Game Pass, the console hardware market. All of the above. So what he has created as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming now is a much harder role to fill.
Yes.
Than head of Xbox. Right? They can pick a lot of different executives. Hey, give you a go as head of Xbox, see what you do with it. He's taken that and turned it into this. Now we need somebody to come in and run this, right?
Or multiple people.
Or multiple people, kind of like they did with 343.
Yeah, break it up.
Right. So that question is figuring out like who can have the vision to foresee that continued growth.
Correct.
Because if you look at projectionally where they were to where they are, even as a portion of Microsoft and the market that they've gained under him with across all these different ecosystems and stuff, it's grown so much
compared to when he took over. So I think they want to make sure they keep that trajectory. So you got to have the same vision.
Yep.
Right. It's amazing what he's done. I mean, you really go and think about it from where they were on their deathbed almost.
That's what I said.
To
complete
just
transformation, complete rebuild of everything. Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
And it's like Xbox is cemented now within Microsoft, right?
Right.
It is like inseparable with an identity and everything now. So it's a hard position to fill.
Yep.
Phil's position is a hard position to fill. It is. So maybe for that reason he stays longer to make sure it's in a good place. And I mean, the thing about him that's unique is he's a lifer there.
Yep. Correct.
He was there and he saw the early days of Xbox and eventually joined that team and everything. So he has a different perspective than somebody you could bring in, or even some of these other guys that have joined later, right? Like Matt Booty came from WB, right? Sarah Bond came from, was it AT&T? I forget. So you have these different people come in from outside, even though they may have a similar vision. They've helped you get to the point you are at now. They may, maybe or maybe not, have the same foresight to make the strategic moves and influences within Microsoft that he's made. So I hope he sticks it out until he's 100% confident that whoever takes over will be that, or his position has gotten so big that it becomes a longer term position.
Sure.
Right? Like, like a CEO of Microsoft type position. Right? Usually those guys last a lot longer. You know what I mean? Like, Satya Nadella came in around that same time as Phil. Before that, it was Bill Gates. You know what I mean? And all that crew, right? So, like, I feel like maybe this whole era could be different to where, it's this big beast that he's created and he's going to see it through. I don't know. It's tough to tell. We all assume he's going to retire at some point because that's always the MO for these gaming execs, right? And a lot of times it's failures that force them out. And a lot of times it's massive success that makes them decide to go ahead and leave, right?
Right.
The thing about Phil is I think he's just a different guy. And he's not a normal exec type guy. He was a guy that just got a job at Microsoft and worked his way up and somehow found himself in this position now. And he gets to kind of run it like how he thinks would be best, and he's got a good knack for it, So I don't know, man. It's interesting.
It's going to be really interesting because there's a continuity between him and Satya. That hasn't been there in the past per se. The Ballmer era was completely different than the Gates era in a lot of ways too. But you gotta think about when Satya is going to leave at some point too, because again, heads of big corporations. I mean, they've had they've had 3 basically CEOs, right? At Microsoft, they've had Gates, Ballmer, and now Satya.
And Ballmer was there with Gates for a long time, and he just kind of took over that role.
He kind of took over that role, and he was in that role, I think, for something like, I don't know, something like 15 years or something like that. Ballmer was there. So how long does Satya have, right? Before Satya moves on. And then you want to keep that continuity, and then you hope that you get somebody else in there who thinks Xbox is just as important as Satya does, or you hope that Xbox has embedded themselves into Microsoft as one of the pillars for Azure servers and all that good stuff that's wrapped up in Microsoft, that the next CEO can't help but consider the gaming division as important as Satya does. There's so many what ifs when you talk about this stuff down in the future, because these people aren't going to be around. We talk, Microsoft looking ahead 15, 20, 25 years. Well, the faces of Microsoft are all going to be different at that point. Chances are, right? Chances are Satya might not be there. Chances are Phil might not be there, at least in this role, right? Phil's could be one of those guys who steps away completely and says, "No, I'm going to the retirement. I'm going to chill out for a while." Right? This is. I don't want to be a big boy at Microsoft. Like, I liked being ahead of the gaming division, but I don't plan on moving anywhere. That's the end of me, right? That's where I want to go. I want to spend time with the wife. It certainly could happen, but yeah, that's something you don't find very often in a $1 trillion company, because we don't see a lot of $1 trillion companies to begin with. But the fact that Satya and Phil kind of had a mind meld when it came to the gaming division is why we're here right now, why we're seeing Microsoft make the biggest acquisition in the history of the company, which is saying something. Like, it's saying a lot. You don't find that all the time. Normally you find a lot of difference of opinions, but you got to hope the next group, like you said, whoever does take over, has that same vision, right? And hopefully that's the transition we see. Hopefully that's where they're at. So it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be very interesting.
It'd be crazy if like one day Phil Spencer became the CEO of Microsoft.
right. He takes over for Satya.
Yeah, like, what's going on? The gaming guy is the head of the.
Yeah, the guy who came from the bottom all the way to the top of $1 trillion company. Boy, oh, it's already a story. Phil's
I used to be the janitor.
Ranks. Yeah, right. That would be insane. That would be insane. So
I worked in the mailroom back in the day.
Oh my god. But yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting for sure. Again, everything always changes in these big companies like this, and it's no different here. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Man, hell of a 3 hours, Mav. Hell of a 3 hours. I think we knocked everything out of the park. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, Chris Jones, member for 7 months, says let Pong take over for Phil.
Yeah. Let me take over.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys the entire roadmap. I'll show you the next 20 years of games planned out. I'll give you all the code names. You'll have full transparency. You will see every update that I can possibly get. I'll leak gameplay footage, alpha footage myself, direct from the top. That's what I'll
just
do.
on Twitter. Oh my god, that'd be so fun if like Phil just like leaked gameplay all the time on Twitter.
Right.
Like, hey, check out this stuff.
Yeah.
Guess what game this is?
You won't believe what I got to see today. Here you go.
Yeah. It's early stages, so
it's early stages, but
gotta check this
God,
out.
I'm excited. Check this out.
Yeah.
Oh man, it'd be the best ever. That's exactly what I would be like.
Man.
I'd be terrible. They'd fire me instantly.
Yes.
I couldn't keep secrets.
That would be you'd become the most popular CEO in history.
Yeah, I would. The shortest term CEO and the most popular all at the same time. That's exactly what would happen. Gamers would love me. Everybody else would hate me in the business end of things. Screw this secrecy. You get it all, guys. You get it all. All right, Mav. Let's get everybody out of here, man. Hell of a show. Hell of a 3 hours. Great discussions. We had a lot of topics we covered tonight. That was fun. For sure. Especially since this is our second show of the week, technically speaking.
It is.
Mav, what do you got going? We got Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. It sounds like we're gonna have a full crew maybe tomorrow night. Maybe.
Sounds like it. Hopefully some Starfield news tomorrow. I'm gonna hold out hope every single day.
Not on Fridays.
Yeah.
No, you never know.
Monday is the same. You know, they can do Monday or Wednesday or whatever. We got Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Come check it out, everybody. If you do, I appreciate you so much. And for everybody who did tune into this show, I appreciate you so much as well. And if you're watching live or after the fact, if you like the content, make sure you hit the like button, share it out, all that stuff. It greatly helps people find us. If you want to check out Mondays, we also got Fun Speculation Podcast. That's FSP at 10 p.m. Eastern time, Monday nights. And then, hey, maybe some more game streams coming up this week. I might be able to be on Double Barrel Gaming on Tuesday for Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm holding out hope everything still works out and I can do that. So tune in to Double Barrel Gaming and Boom Show there on Tuesday. I appreciate you guys. You all rock. Splendiferous just hit us with a $2 super chat as well. It said, and Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball Pong. What of that? Yeah. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm for it 100%.
Yeah, let's go.
Best volleyball game ever made.
Yeah. 60 frames, 4K.
The only reason why I like it is because it's the best volleyball game ever made.
Yeah. That's the only reason?
That's the only reason.
Pong Soul, what you got going?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you guys didn't catch me earlier today on World of Gaming with Boxenberger, go back and rewatch that. That was a fun show. We had a great time. Again, Dutch and Box, two of my favorites in this community, and we always have a good time. It's been a long time since I had a chance to podcast with them, but this has been a fantastic show. My tweet about journalists is taking off. It's gaining momentum, not losing momentum right now. You guys heard my rant earlier about the journalisms. If you missed that, the journalists, I should say, the journalists, go check that out at the beginning of the show. That's how we started the show off after introductions. I had a fun time tonight, and so did Mav. So thank you all for being here. Great conversations in the chat as always. Appreciate every single one of you. for coming out and supporting all of our shows. So thank you. Nothing but love and respect, as always, for that. We love having these discussions and conversations. And Mav and I even disagreed tonight. And that's cool. That's a great part about this. It makes things interesting. I can't always agree on everything. So, anyways, everybody, you can find me Pong Soul on Xbox. Pong Soul on Twitter. You guys all know the drill. I will be there for Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. I should be on time, no problem. Tomorrow night, I got to go back to the office tomorrow, but I should still make it, no problem. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it's living split screen. If you like this energy, you're going to get this energy and more, because my brother from the Steel takes it to another level, and we get your Saturday started right. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time, live, raw, and uncut. Buckle up, 3+ hours. You know we're going to go for, unless we have something to do. So be there. Tell a friend. Bring a friend. Living split screens all one word, every Saturday morning. It's going to be a fun one this week. We're going to have some rants because I'm not done with my journalists. And then, of course, Saturday night, it is the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam. That is PTK Blam's channel with Fuzzy Belvedere, myself, and I believe this week it is Infinite Umbra. Mr. Ego himself will be rolling on in there. We're going to have a fun time no matter what. On Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. The best way to end your Saturday night. Chill out, play games, have us on in the background. You're going to hear some good discussion there as well. And then, of course, next week starts all over again. Again, probably not going to make Xbox Factory, but don't matter. Mr. Boomstick, Double Barrel Gaming. He's been on a roll, having huge panels. His primetime gaming last night was crazy. You got to show up, though, on Tuesdays because it's all good things green. So, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there Tuesday. Xbox Factor Podcast, Double Barrel Gaming is that channel. And then, of course, back here again, Thursday night, PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM. Who knows what's going to happen next week? This week was good. This week had big news, crazy news. In fact, so much we had to have an extra show this week. But we will be back next week to give you that same type of discussion right here on PM in the PM. It's the Golden Age Gaming, people. So have a amazing Friday. And hope your weekend is stellar. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Get out there, play what you love. Love what you play. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Peace. Thanks, everybody.
Later all.